So hello everyone, this is Deepak Parekh, Managing Partner, HnyB Tech Incubation Private Limited. I take this opportunity to thank all of you for attending this second summit of Agriculture Roundtable Web Summit Series. The idea of this web series is to connect dots between 7 key areas in agriculture, going all the way from irrigation, which was our previous summit. Today, we talk about digital agriculture. Then we move to input management. Then we talk about policies and investment. Then agri-finance. Then we move to market linkages. And finally, the agriculture protocols. Today, we are having a cohort of very eminent people who will be talking on various subjects which impact digital agriculture. When we say digital agriculture, it is very simple that when you try to make agriculture digitized, it's called digital agriculture. But things are not as simple as they look. There are challenges of data collection. There are challenges of connectivity. There are challenges of using that data to create valuable insight for different stakeholders, whether it's a small marginal farmer, a corporate farmer, an input company, an output company, an insurance company, a bank, a financial institution, or even the policymakers, the government. Everybody is having different interests. And hence, when you are trying to give one picture, it doesn't work for all. So you have to create contextualized insight for everyone. Today, we start with a very eminent guest and a very dear friend, Sunil David. Sunil is a regional director IoT at the AT&T with close to 3 decades of experience in the IT and telecommunication industry. He is currently leading the IoT efforts of AT&T India and the ASEAN region as a regional director. He is responsible for building and executing the IoT strategy for these regions and working on building a robust partner ecosystem for AT&T in the IoT value chain by conducting sales, business development, marketing, and partnership activity. I'm trying to keep the introduction short because believe me, I can go on for another 20-25 minutes easily without blinking an eye, because that is the body of work and experience Sunil carries. So floor is yours, Sunil. Please amaze us with your insightful session.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Deepak. And it's really an honor to be part of this session. And when you invited me last week to speak, I was not too sure that I accepted because I already had one speaking assignment this morning, which I had already committed to, and I have 2 more coming up this Friday. So I was not too sure whether, but you're a dear friend of mine, and it was very difficult for me to say no to you. And I decided to accept it, and thank you so much for this opportunity. Let me share my screen.
Yes, Sunil, your screen is up. Thank you.
Okay, so now since I'm an IoT evangelist, and since I represent the telecom industry, my focus is, of course, going to be on connectivity and IoT, and also going to touch a little bit about 5G during the course of my presentation. Now, I'm not going to spend too much of time on this slide as far as the context is concerned. All of you all know how important agriculture is as it relates to India's GDP in terms of the workforce it deploys, the exports that we do to the external world. But I wanted to draw your attention to the last point, which is, the factors which are impacting Indian agriculture today, the rising input costs, be it fertilizers, pesticides, seeds, etc., low productivity, and declining profitability. In all these areas, technology definitely can play a big part, and especially IoT. And these, insights which came out from a NASSCOM Cisco report just published a couple of months back. And what I'm going to do is, over the next 15 minutes, talk about how IoT can play a big part, and then also share with you a couple of specific use cases, and then also talk about how 5G can definitely help. Now, specifically, when you talk about agriculture, I kind of divided it into 2 parts, and where technology could be leveraged. Right, so on the pre-harvest stage, you have all these steps: the tilling and the seeding and the sowing, irrigation, etc. And then you have the post-harvest stage, right, which is the warehousing, processing, supply chain, distribution, retail. Now, you can have technology that could be leveraged in pretty much every area of this, right? So I think, firstly, the fact that you need real-time data access, that is so important, because today we are living in a data-powered economy, and unless you have the power of data, you're not in a position to take decisions. You're not in a position to predict outcomes, right? So we are in a data-powered world today. Now, one other thing which I wanted to clearly highlight is the fact that IoT sensors today can be integrated into pretty much all of the farm machinery that is used today, right from tractors, right? So today you have, even though the volume of connected tractors today is very less, but that's an area which will definitely see some growth. Right, so because the fact is that the cost of telematics devices which go into these tractors to monitor the location, the health of the tractors, etc., that cost is coming down. And any of the expensive machinery that is used from a farming standpoint, whether it's post-harvest sorting machines, you can actually have IoT fused into it to monitor its location, to monitor temperature, and many other attributes of all this farm machinery. In fact, you're talking about tractors, given that the population of tractors that is being used today is very less. You are aware of certain platforms that are available today where you can actually get a tractor on hire, right? For example, Mahindra had launched the Tringo platform a few years back. CAFE has got a platform. But technology is available where one can get a tractor on rent for those who cannot afford tractors. And if you really want to set up a platform where you can offer tractors on rent to farmers who really need it, IoT definitely will be playing a big part in it, because you need a device which will have GPS that will connect to the tractor to track its location in real time. The other important thing is the real-time condition monitoring of all equipment that is being used, right? Thanks to IoT again, the various sensors that you use today, be it temperature, be it vibration, be it shock, light, all of that can be integrated into an IoT device, and you can remotely monitor it. Soil quality remote sensing, and IoT comes into play here as well. You could have sensors that can connect on fields where you can actually sense the moisture level, the nutrient level in soil, because obviously the quality of soil would determine how much of seed to sow, how much of water to be used, etc. Water utilization sensors, and I think we are seeing a lot of use cases. I'm going to talk about this in my subsequent slides, but the fact being that today, agriculture consumes a lot of water, right? Especially if you look at paddy cultivation, humongous amount of water is used. I can share very briefly about what we did farmer community in the US, which can definitely be replicated in India, where we use what is called alternate wetting and drying technique combined with IoT. So as you know, in a paddy field, you got to maintain at least 4 inches of flood, right? And there is always, in India, the flood is always maintained, but the fact remains that you really don't need to keep that 4 inches of flood always, right? You could have periods when there could be some dryness. So that's why it's called alternate wetting and drying. So what you could do is you could have sensors attached to the field and which will constantly monitor the amount of water that is there. And when you get to a stage where the field is almost drying, then you can trigger an alert to an IoT-enabled pump that will then pump water, and then your field again gets filled up. So the pump is also IoT-enabled. And what is very interesting is that the impact it has on environment, because when you have a lot of water on the field, it creates what is called as an anaerobic condition. It generates a lot of methane, which is a greenhouse gas, which is definitely not good for the environment. Secondly, what is also happening is when you're using a lot of pump, when that obviously means higher electricity usages, but then you're emitting a lot of CO2, right? So you see that the impact, right? The less use of water, less use of pump, less use of CO2, and the environment is taken care of. Then of course your weather-based yield monitors today, you definitely need the benefit of weather information, because again that would determine yield of crops, etc. Now I just wanted to emphasize the importance of connectivity in IoT. To put it very simply, when you have an IoT device with the sensors and you're connecting it to pretty much any asset in an agriculture field, what is very, very important is the network. And Deepak talked about the fact that we do have connectivity challenges, especially in India, right? Because you can have the best possible IoT device. You can have the best possible IoT platform, the best of AI and machine learning algorithms. If you do not have reliable and secure connectivity, nothing is going to work, right? So from a connectivity standpoint, you have multiple options today, starting with 2G, 3G, 4G, and I'm going to touch upon 5G later on. Satellite, today, satellite is definitely an option. I actually come from a SATCOM background. Many years back, I worked for a company which used to offer satellite communication services. And at that point in time, the cost of bandwidth used to be very, very expensive. 128 kbps link used to cost 18 lakhs per year. A dish antenna that was installed in a rooftop used to be about anywhere between 6 to 7 lakhs. Prices have come down drastically. And in fact, we started to see a lot of operators now wanting to set up what is called low Earth orbit satellites, which is about 700 odd kilometers above Earth's surface, and which can actually use to provide broadband connectivity. But from an India standpoint, definitely there is an option to use satellite, because many of the locations, many of the fields, agriculture fields, are in remote places, or even in some of the remotest villages, connectivity is always going to be a challenge. You won't find cellular towers there. Laying fiber there would be a problem, right? So satellite definitely can play a big role there. And the cost of hardware is coming down. The cost of satellite bandwidth is much lower today. Global wireline, you could use fiber network to connect a field and maybe a cellular tower through which data can be sent to the cloud. You could also have, a wired network within an agriculture field. So you can set up a wired network, or you could also set up a Wi-Fi network. Today, the latest standard is Wi-Fi 6, where you could, it's very much optimized for IoT applications. And then, of course, you have low power wide area network, narrowband IoT, where you have a situation where you want the battery life, to be very long, 5 years, 10 years, and where the requirement is for data that is being sent from an asset to the cloud. If it's going to be sent very infrequently, the amount of data that you're sending is less. For example, if it's just a condition of an asset, just temperature reading of something, or just location information, then you really don't need very high-speed networks. So you can use what's called low power WAN network, and then take advantage of the low cost of device and use this technology. There are also options to use unlicensed technologies. For example, you may have heard of LoRaWAN, where you can set up a small LoRaWAN network, access points covering the whole field, and then you might use the 4G cellular gateway to send data to the cloud. So all these are definitely options that one can use from a connectivity standpoint. And in an IoT world, there's never a one-size-fits-all solution. You got to have a combination of technologies coming together, right? It's you could use a combination of maybe satellite and cellular, a combination of maybe cellular and wired, right? So that is what makes it the hybrid approach, as they call it. Very quickly, just sharing a couple of use cases. So and this company called Fuzzle, an agri-tech startup, as you know, India, we have more than 600 to 700 agri-tech startups. I think they did some amazing work. They've featured in a NASSCOM report. They helped a farmer to actually, in a number of areas, in terms of irrigating the field, reaping the crops, risk of pest attack. They implemented, an IoT solution, sensors attached. They were able to, optimally use water, right time to reap the crops, taking pictures of the crop, checking whether there's any pest attack that has infested it, right time to use pesticides. And the success of this actually extended to more than 60 acres. So the same farmer is now able to extend it to other vegetables as well. This was again a case study that was featured in the NASSCOM report. The farmer's name is Rana. He's based in Haryana. And the problem statement was that, that was a region which was where the rainfall was erratic, very limited groundwater access, and he was managing a mix of crops. He used IoT devices to check moisture level in the soil. And thanks to IoT sensors, which is monitoring water level, he was able to reduce water reduction by extent of 30%. And he was also able to reduce the input cost by 8 to 12%. If you recollect, when I started off, I said that the cost of inputs are very high, and that is impacting profitability of farmers. But now, thanks to IoT, he's able to do this. And what was the result? High yield and income. And that's what a farmer wants, right? Now, quickly moving to 5G. You have seen this network evolution play out over the last, 40 years now. You recollect the 2G days when we could only make voice calls, no data. Then you had 3G for a long time, and then we leapfrogged for 4G, right? So in 2011-12, we've been using 4G, where your data speeds definitely went up. You could use video. Now, if you look at 1G to 4G, it was all about faster speeds. Today, when you talk about 5G, and of course, in India, we are maybe a year away from that, but 5G is just not about a faster speed. 5G is all about a completely new experience for the user, whether you talk from an enterprise standpoint or you're talking from a consumer standpoint. The very characteristics of 5G, very, very low latency, less than 5 milliseconds, very high speeds, 1 gigabits per second to 10 gigabits per second, extremely high speeds. And most important thing is the ultra reliability, 99.59 reliability, because the new radio protocol that is used in 5G, that has been architected in such a way that you get that high level of reliability. And with these kind of characteristics, it kind of opens up completely new set of use cases. Last year, there was a remote surgery that was done using a 5G network. A surgeon couldn't go to a hospital in China. Using a 5G network, he's actually able to instruct the surgeon precisely what needs to be done. And there are a number of 5G itself is a huge topic in itself, but there are a number of areas where 5G could be utilized. And I'm going to quickly touch upon how 5G could perhaps be used in agriculture. Now, if you just look at precision farming, right? So now 5G can definitely play a big part here, right? So instead of applying treatment to the entire field, there's definitely a need to apply precise treatment to only certain rows or to only certain crops. Now, this might be possible in earlier generations of technology as well, but with 5G, there's definitely is able to speed up everything. The fact is that you can collect data at high speed and send it to the cloud at, I told you about 1 gigabits per second speed or even higher, right? That makes it even more powerful, right? So 5G definitely can be used in precision farming. 5G can also be used where, for example, you want to distinguish between weed and crop monitoring, right? So typically what happens is that today you might have cameras which will be able to take pictures and to be able to take those images and then for someone to make a distinguishment between a weed and a crop. But thanks to 5G today, you could have really high resolution cameras that can capture 20 images per second, and you apply AI technology, that will give you much more better resolution, and you'll be able to really recognize that difference between plants and weeds. The other option could be, you could use 5G network in combination with edge. When I say edge, you could have a device which is closer to where the data is getting generated, and all the processing is done by the edge device, so that you can able to take decisions faster instead of data going to cloud. So you're probably going to see a lot more use cases going forward where 5G would be combined with edge. And I just come to my last use case, where today you have these drone sprayers, right? So they are equipped with a weed scanner and a crop sprayer, right? So again, they can use IoT. These drone sprayers are all IoT enabled. You can remotely control it, monitor it, because sometimes these drones also got faulty, right? And sometimes it might be very difficult to go there and get it repaired. So you can use power of IoT to actually troubleshoot these drones. Here again, to spray the right amount of pesticides, to identify weeds, etc., 5G will play a big part here, right? So, friends, this is a very, very deep and wide topic. There's a lot that I can say, but given the constraints of time, I just kind of wanted to restrict myself to IoT and 5G here. Thank you for your time and attention, and happy to take questions.
Hey, Sunil, super, very well articulated. And believe me, I've been talking to a lot of people, and there's always been an apprehension, right? That, hey, we don't have the connectivity, and you're talking about 4Gs and 5Gs. I'll just give you one anecdote. In 2005, just like you, I also had a background in telecom. So in 2005, I was in Brazil speaking at a conference, and I presented the idea of long-term evolution and the 3.5 and 4G through WiMAX. And I was laughed upon that in your country, you don't even are able to manage 2G properly. You guys are talking about 3.5G and all that. I came back and I wrote 3 books actually, published by John Wiley & Sons, CRC Press, and sent to these people. Now, this also happens when we talk about rural areas. Farmer won't be using this much of bandwidth. Now, what I loved about your presentation is that farmer doesn't need to know that actually this is what is the bandwidth. It is about the activity which is being happening. Now, my question revolves around a couple of things of the challenge which I see. Mm-hmm. How do you see, in 4G and 5G, right? Because of the structure of the communication pipe itself, there is humongous usage of energy, right? And the power consumption is pretty high. And how do you see that problem in a shorter time, by the time we have 5G and all that? Because for farmers to get access to electricity all the way to the farm is always a challenge. How do you see that problem getting solved, or do you see that could be a deterrent?
See, for Deepak, for 5G, the issue will be more around how the cost of the 5G would, for the farmers, because today India, unfortunately, Deepak, we have the very, very high spectrum costs. The spectrum costs by the operators are very, very high. So if the 5G spectrum costs are brought down, that will make it very affordable for the service providers to launch 5G services at very affordable rates, right? So for me, the challenge would be in terms of the cost of 5G eventually when it gets deployed, because 5G is actually very energy efficient when it comes to, for example, devices that are going to be used in any farming. The cost of devices will be much lower in case of 5G, because you're talking about a very high connection density, Deepak. In 5G, with the high connection density, you can actually have 1 million, theoretically, 1 million IoT devices over 1 square kilometer radius, as per theory. Practically, we'll have to see. So what it means is that in a large farm, you can, unlike earlier technologies where you to have multiple access points, multiple towers, you could have pretty much the whole, especially for the large acre of field, you can have all those farms connected to using one gateway. So the cost will be much lower, right? Very energy efficient. The only thing is, how will the operators, price the 5G? That is going to be the challenge. Because Deepak, what's happening is cost of IoT devices are coming down. Government actually announced last year that under Atmanirbharta, IoT devices will be under PLI scheme, Production Link Incentive Scheme, because telecom gear is also under that. So we're going to see a lot more manufacturing of IoT devices going forward. Once the ecosystem gets built, then the device cost will be much lower. And today the device cost is the big component of the overall cost of an IoT solution. So that is where it is. It all depends on how affordable the operators can make 5G. And what is really important, Deepak, is for the ecosystem to come together, because if the operators just have to look at profits, then it might be a challenge. They'll have to find a way to subsidize that cost, work with other players in the ecosystem to make it really affordable for the farmers, Deepak. That's my answer to that question.
No, perfect. I totally understand that when you have more density, right? So then actually definitely it becomes energy efficient. And as you rightly mentioned about the spectrum cost, and we have been talking about it since 2G, that India is keeping very high spectrum cost. And that has also led to the current scenario, right? Where we might end up with the duopoly, just because there was a lot of tariffing which happened on a lot of operators, making them actually non-profitable. Now that brings me to another question, Sunil. You talked about US. Even when we talk about the connectivity to the farm level, while we are having beautiful connectivity when we goes on the highways and all that, right? Even in America, the 23% of farms are actually having connectivity at the farm level. And when you come home to India, it is just 8%. Do you see that even that challenges could be solved because of low cost of 5G and you can have more well spread towers?
So Deepak, what is really needed is a hybrid network approach here, Deepak, because 5G, while you need towers at all places, you need to also lay a lot of fiber, Deepak, because all the towers which are there, they all need to connect through a fiber network. And today, the amount of fiber that India has laid is very, very less. They call it fiberization of towers. It's just 20 to 30% of fiberization of towers which has happened in India. Whereas in Western markets, it's somewhere between 70 to 80%, right? So laying fiber might be a challenge. So what would really needed is a hybrid approach where you combine 5G with maybe satellite. So in locations where, laying fiber is a challenge, laying towers is an issue because of the terrain, satellite would be a good choice there. And as I mentioned earlier, the government is actually trying to give a fillip to satellite industry. The cost of satellite bandwidth will be lower. The endpoints will be much lower. If that is made affordable, then combination of satellite plus 5G could also be a good solution, especially in remote locations of India, Deepak, in my view.
No, true, actually. In fact, you'll be surprised. It feels like deja vu, right? Even 10, 15 years back, we were talking about challenges of backhaul. Even today, those challenges are still there. So now I would like to ask you one more question, right? See, the idea is that we have a lot of challenges about employing our farm labor, because it is very evident that not all the farmers can continue farming because of various reasons, right? Do you see this? For example, you talked about automated tractors, where 5G will at least remove one more person who would have been driving that tractor. And this is bound to happen because of various reasons. Do you see that actually the modern technology, especially when we talk about automation through sensors and 5G and the VR, right? This would reduce somehow even the employability on the farms?
So Deepak, Mahindra has done a pilot where they have tested autonomous tractors in certain parts of India, right? So now the question is whether a company like Mahindra or anyone who makes tractors can offer these on some kind of a rental model, because see, all cannot afford tractors, right? So, and you really don't need, to be honest, you really don't need tractors for 24 hours a day, right? I mean, you just need it for a few hours. So in my view, even those who have bought the tractors might probably lease it to somebody who's not using it, right? So I think, just to, shorten my answer, I think the ability for those who provide solutions to come up with as a service models, Deepak, today CapEx is a big challenge. So if you are able to get everyone coming together, because the IoT is an ecosystem play, the telecom provider has to work with the device ecosystem, data analytics company, all having to work together, building that partner ecosystem and offering a solution as a service to a farmer where they pay on a monthly subscription mode. And at time when we actually get to a maturity level, which is much higher, he'll pay actually based on an outcome. At the end of the day, using technology to get better business outcomes, right? So I hope we get to that stage, because we are still today very traditional sales driven, one-time cost, AMC. We got to move to the next stage, as a service, outcome-based models. That's where we need to, and we've already started to see that happen in the Western markets, Deepak. So there's no reason why we can't emulate a model like that in India, Deepak.
No, I fully agree with you. I am a big fan of circular economy, and by having more tractors which are lying unused, it's better to have less of them and use more. So I fully agree with you that we need to build ecosystem. And what I liked about we just said was about creating those platforms, right, and delivering technology as a service to the farmer with a very clear defined outcomes. So that's very important. So I come to the last question. What is the AT&T and your vision of enabling Indian farmers with all the great work you have been doing so far?
So Deepak, this is a question tough to answer because to be honest, agriculture industry has not been a focus for us in India. Our focus has largely been on automobile segment, because see, we go to industries where the volumes are very, very large, right? So as part of CSR, we might want to do something there, but we haven't decided. As part of CSR, we have done some projects in the healthcare space, especially with the LV Prasad Institute, Hyderabad, taking healthcare to very remote parts of Andhra Pradesh. But as part of CSR, we can maybe leverage technology to do something. But otherwise, if you're talking about purely from a business perspective, our focus areas are completely different. It's largely focused on automotive industry, manufacturing, etc. Deepak.
No, perfect. But actually, I love your passion for agriculture because we keep on bumping into each other and talking about agriculture. So please continue that passion, because I know that one day, all of us would be able to create a very robust ecosystem to help our farmers. Thanks a lot, Sunil, for part of this panel of this roundtable, and we thank you for your participation.
Thank you, Deepak. I'll just stay on to hear the others present if it's okay with you.
Sure, 100%, please. So we are having our next presenter, again a very dear friend, and I'll say that one of the initial movers in this field. So we have today with us Kunal Prasad. Kunal is a co-founder and CEO at Cropin. He has over 13 years of experience in the technical and management arena with substantial work in sales and business development, project management, product and customer experience. Kunal's strength lie in his strong team management skill and his tenacious attitude that has helped Cropin reach out to over 6 million farmers in 56 countries. He's passionate about working on improving farm productivity, climate resilience, sustainability, and food security. He has extensive experience in working with government bodies, developmental agencies, cooperative, and farmer group globally. He believes that farming should be data-driven and collaborative, and so he is on mission to digitize 20 million farmers by 2025. Floor is yours, Kunal.
Thanks, Deepak. Thanks for this great introduction. And hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on the time zones that you are in. So glad to be here. I think this is one of the very interesting roundtables that we're having on basically digital agriculture. Digital agriculture being the future, which is really going to help, not only from a productivity, but also sustainability aspects of thriving agriculture and all the ecosystem players around that. So with that, I will what I'll do in my discussion is I will quickly, maybe in around 15 minutes, I will talk about my work at Cropin, what we have done through a couple of slides in my presentation, and then probably we can have quick question answers. I'm happy to hear from the audience as well if they have some questions for us. So I'm just sharing my screen. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, sure, please. I think Kunal got dropped, it seems. So till the time Kunal joins in, I think he might have pressed the wrong button. so till Kunal joins in, we would like to give you a little bit of perspective about what is the idea of having this roundtable in a little bit of detail. We are having various people coming from different backgrounds. So as you heard, right, we had someone talking from communication. We are having Kunal, who's just joined again. He's from that typically AI-driven farm solution. Yeah, Kunal, so floor is yours, please. Kunal, in case you're speaking, you might be on mute.
Okay, are we good now?
Yes, all good. Please.
Okay, great. So yeah, basically a quick introduction on Cropin. We are like in the business for the last 10 years, and what we have done is we have seen agriculture through a digital lens, and our objective from the very start had been to bring digital agriculture into real value creation for all the ecosystem players. And that's where in the last 10 years we are very proud to say that we have been one of the transformational organizations helping not only the farmers but also the ecosystem which are engaging with the farmers. Our approach is to provide a full stack solution, not just a point solution. So if you see on the right side, we have a complete SaaS based platform which helps organization from end to end, from farm management to supply chain management to market linkage platform to AI and analytics for helping them to use more of predictive and prescriptive agriculture. We are a 200 plus member team, all located in different parts of the world as well, and we are well supported by different institutions. So when we talk about agriculture and a data-driven agriculture, we look at the different enterprises which are working with the farmers, and then how they are engaging with the farmers and bringing in a system which could basically create that efficiency around that. These are some of the customers that we work with, including agro input companies, which are more engaging or selling their inputs and chemicals to the farmers. We have the lending companies like banks, which are like right recently we're working with a couple of at least 10, 12 banks, which are using our platform for providing access to finance for smallholder farmers and FPOs. We work with crop insurance programs like the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana in India, which is working in almost 6 states with us in more than 25 plus districts to understand how we can do the crop insurance settlements using remote sensing data. A lot of farming companies, which has been a core forte to help them in terms of farm management end-to-end from seed till the plate. Seed production companies to helping them manage the seed production operations. And then government and development agencies which are working on basically talking about increasing the livelihood and income opportunities for the farmers. So how do we basically create that complete stack for these set of farmers and farmer groups where we talk about digitization, access to finance. It's basically all of these ecosystem coming together to support that particular initiative. So in our full stack approach for these programs, we get access to finance, access to insurance, access to digitize these farms and then get them advisories and advices also in different parts and then help them connect to market so that end-to-end value could be created for the set of farmers. If you see digital agriculture is a thrust and this has picked up in the recent year as well because there is a lot of data which is getting created, data from either data collected at the field level through mobile phones or data collected when people are using these devices or data which is available in other sources like weather satellites and others. So when we talk about helping our partner institutions, there are 3 approaches that we normally see. Like when it's basically a learning, it's a it's basically transition that happens. It starts off first is putting a house in order, right? Many of the institutions would not have basic information about where their farms are, what are their farmers, what crops they are growing, what is the acreage, what are the challenges that they're facing in terms of agriculture challenges, in terms of good agriculture practices, input challenges, pest and disease challenges, things like that. So the first thing that we do with them is give them a full stack farm management solution so that they put their house in order. And by doing that, they can engage with their farmers through their set of extension workers, which are having mobile-based applications. They can go, they can register their farmers, the number of plots that they have, geotag them, survey them, register their crops. And for every single crop, they can then start getting the advisory. So this basically helps institutions to target their core incentives around digitization, advisory services so that the production maximization can happen at the farm level. Once this is put in place through our farm management solution, the second thing that we talk about is using more of data and analytics. So in 2 to 3 years journey of the partners that we have, they start getting a lot of data, and this data then helps them in terms of planning their future seasons better, which means that in the next season, which area, which district, which pin code should they target, when the sowing should happen, what crop should be suitable for which regions, which farmers are better for that particular crop, and things around that. It also basically has components of weather and smart intelligence coming from AI, which could help them in terms of planning their crop, what time to sow, when to sow, and things around that. So this is how the data analytics is helpful for businesses to plan and bring in the efficiencies in their business. The third part is where you can also use alternate data, and that's where the world of AI is all about, where we talk about predictive and prescriptive agriculture, looking in the historical performance of the crop, looking at it from a satellite lens, we could basically predict the crop, we can predict the stage, we can predict the stress, and give recommendations for not only the farmer, but also the businesses which are working with the farmers. And there are different use cases when we are using AI. So we work with banks which are using our smart creditworthiness models to understand the potential of lending a farmer, because most of the smallholder farmers do not have access to sources of data transaction that we would have done in the past. So this helps them in terms of opening up doors for financing those smallholder farmers. It could be done for small cooperatives, or it could be done to even largeholder farmers. We can then bring in insurance components or even the commodity component on top of that. So these are some of the things that we have seen. And as a crop-in, as a full suite solution, if you are in any part of the journey, we are very happy to partner with you and then take you and transition you to the next journey. There is a suite of solutions. So as you want to transition, there is a problem statement that the business will have in terms of either operational efficiency, in terms of transaction that they're doing, in terms of challenges of working with the farms to get the right quality, right productivity, right as per the specification of the end customers. We then bring a suite of solutions targeting basically compartmentalized in two parts: Smart Farm Plus suite of solution, which is all about digital agriculture. So anything and everything that is working on the ground, which is to be digitally digitized and digitalized, is all done through our Smart Farm Plus platform. And the Smart Risk is where we bring in the analytics and the AI component on top of that. So altogether, if you see, as a full solution, we talk about three core pillars for customers and the partners that we work with. We help you to optimize your costs in terms of your operations costs, in terms of your input costs, in terms of costs that you are spending for your traceability and things like that. Second is in terms of revenue maximization, which is in terms of your yield, your quality, and your quantity and things. And third is in terms about your risk. So when you are talking about your business, so understanding how your crops are performing. So in a case when your business working with say 5,000 farmers, 10,000 plots spread across different parts of the country or different parts of the state, we actually monitor every single asset of yours and then tell you that which of these assets are performing good as per the standard crop signature. So it helps business to have much far control about the operations, know about the losses much in advance, and plan the logistics and supply chain operations, which effectively could help you to reduce your cost of operation by 20 to 40%, and that we have also demonstrated. As an ecosystem approach, just to reiterate the thought, we work with programs we work with the Punjab government right now. We're working with multiple crop segments: organic, basmati, potato. We also work with multiple other government institutions like NABARD with FPOs. We work with then CSRs, which are working with the Tata Trust, which are more on the developmental program, or directly with institutions like farming companies McCain. So you talk about Savannah Seeds and Syngenta buyers. So they basically engage between end to end, from farm management to supply chain management to harvest forecasting to procurement to storage to processing to then end customer shipment with the traceability code. So we help you in this entire journey, and we have a suite of products including Smart Farm, Smart Risk, Smartware, Acre Square. So it all gets connected. It's all it's all about you just click a button and then the other platform gets integrated into your solution. Talking about some of these products in detail, if you are an agribusiness which wants to get into the first step of digital agriculture, we help you with the Smart Farm. It's a one-stop destination, as I said. The Smart Farm has right now more than 9,400 varieties on our platform, and we are supporting 7 million farmers, active farmers right now across in 50 plus countries. So it's a very, very robust platform, all tried, tested, and working in the right way that you want. So it's all comprehensive. You can monitor all of your farm operations, including farming, greenhouse, plantations, aquaculture, and all. We can also integrate your service. So if you are in developed part of the world, we can also develop your drones, your IT services on top of that. You can have your multiple management, your contracts within the organization. So within one organization, you can have sub-organizations. If you have suppliers, the suppliers can engage and work on their own ways, and you as a parent organization can monitor everything that's happening. So you can enforce your standards in terms of traceability, in terms of certifications, and then the partner organization can work based on that. It becomes a single source of truth, so that you do not run for data for multiple sources. Whatever gets captured, we also have validation mechanisms through which we ensure that the data captured is right. And then we help you. There are a lot of things which is automatic, in terms of early warning pest and disease-based model. We have the DUES model, where we use weather data and other forecasting mechanisms to proactively advise your farmers that there is something coming in the next 3-4 days. in this particular farm of yours, go and practice this particular thing. So these are some of the things that we bring to the table when we talk about the smart farm, and it also covers elements of sustainability, like when we're talking about something around like savings in terms of energy, in terms of water, in terms of better package of practices. It can be configured. You talk about like in terms of certifications, it can cover anything that's possible. These are some of the things that's there on the platform. So our platform basically has web and mobile. Mobile gets distributed across all of your field operation, agronomists, field staff, extension workers, LRPs, VRPs, all of them. They can all capture multiple crops through this for this application. We can have multiple crop configurations. You can have different workflows, from data capturing to reporting to analysis and insighting. You can have audits and surveys by different. So if there is a business which is needing a third-party survey, the third-party survey gets a login, and you can also survey your plots. And then we have smart compute systems as well, which can help you in terms of predictive, giving you alarms and signals on top of that. The second part of is the crop monitoring program, where you talk about once the entire crop is monitored, we bring in traceability, whatever has happened, you can actually open that up for your end customers to benefit from. So if you're exporting, or within India also, the traceability standards are now quite prominent. So we can also differentiate your product from other products so that you can have a better market. We bring a lot of weather intelligence. We have our partner IBM, which gives us the global weather data. And we have a hyper-local precision in terms of giving 5 by 5 kilometer precision weather data to all of our customers. So any farm which is there in that particular 5 by 5 square kilometer will be a specific information for that particular farm, and then all advices happen based on that. We talked about the reason early warning signal, which is also the use model that we have implemented for 51 different crop diseases, and there are certain other features as well. Then we have insights platform, insight, which can help you to gather all the data. You can have data coming from other devices. It can all put in together from your farm, from historical data and the other sources, and then we put that into wonderful BI and insights for you to take the right decisions, and for your organization, for your managers and agronomists to take the right decision for your business to succeed. So these are some of the things which comes as a part of a smart farm suite of products. The interface has value propositions for all of the people who are engaging on the platform. So we believe that unless everyone is seeing a positive value, the ecosystem doesn't really work. So from farmers to field users to managers to your C-suite to your end customers, everyone will have some value proposition and a positive value proposition for them to come and use this digital platform. Traceability is a big norm, and we wanted to showcase that we are in most of our programs right now, which are more export driven. Traceability has become the new norm, so we have brought in newer features and some of the unique features which is different from what is there in the market. Our traceability information is coming through not only basic QR code, but we also have non-counterfeit, authentic, non-replicable QR code. So you cannot replicate that. You cannot make a copy and then paste it somewhere. So if you have a packet of seed, then it will be unique QR codes that will be stuck on that. And we can also have the end-to-end traceability of that. So these are some of the things that is coming in the market and quite widely adopted by our customers and partners. The second part of my discussion, I'm going to talk about the world of AI, where a satellite plays a very important role in the field of agriculture. And in the satellite part, we basically have two parts of the solution. One is going at the macro level, so you can go at the village level, pin code level, panchayat level, or the district or the state or the country level. So we do the entire processing of almost a large part of the world, and then we can basically give you the crop analytics and forecast based on that. The second part is about going to the plot level. So if you are a farm or a business which is agrochemical business which is working on say 5,000 demo farms, or you are contract farming business working with 5,000 contract farmers, or if you are a bank which is lending to 5,000 farmers, all of you are monitoring 5,000 assets, and we help you to remotely monitor these assets so that your cost of intervention can be reduced. So from your credit worthiness, from your crop monitoring to your harvest forecasting to the harvested status, we help you to analyze all of them through a single platform. We have use cases like if you're a commodity trader, we help you analyze your crop forecast, and this comes as not only the regional forecast, but we also bring in the inferences from other regions as well, so that you have a right decision making tool for you to take the trade decisions. For the banking sector, as I said, this is very, very interesting. So we are now moving into an ag fintech sector, where we are working with a lot of banks in India and other parts of the world, including Africa, Latin America, Southeast Asia as well. And these banks are using our AI solutions to understand the opportunity of lending to the smallholder farmers and reducing their NPAs by smartly monitoring their crops as well. The world of digital is also moving downwards, towards the farmer. So we are seeing back in 2010 when they were 5 to 10% of farmers using smartphones. It moved down from 20 to 30% in between 2015. Now it's almost 40 to 50%. All the newer generation phones are smartphones which the people are using. So that's the reason we have built a suite of farm application as well. So it's a B2B2C application where we do not engage with the farmer directly, but we enable our partners to engage with their customers better. So if you are a farming business or you are agrochemical business or you are banking business, you can then, it's like an integrated to your entire solution. So you can provide this farming application to your end customers, and then you can communicate we then advise our services on top of that. So if you want to talk about satellite data, the farmer can also see how his crop is performing. He can have the hyper-local weather data. You can give him tasks and recommendations. We can also check the pest and disease. He can also send the signal back from his farm that, no, this is the picture, this is the problem, and you can then actually communicate back. You can also record your videos and you can do your promotions, and all those things is a part of our farmer application. This basically helps you to connect to your end customers better and build the trust so that you are there with them all the time. Core value proposition why our customers like us is that it's like a one-stop integrated platform, because the business need doesn't end with one part of the solution. They want to solve the entire problem, and when we talk about the entire problem, it starts from the seed, it goes up to the plate. So any enterprise which is working the segment likes us for the full stack approach that we have. We are also pioneering in terms of technology. So we keep on upgrading our technology. So every 3 to 6 months, we'll see many more new features that are introduced, and that feature then becomes a standard feature which is rolled out to all of our partners. So we want everyone to benefit from the digital transformation that's happening. We also have a very strong customer success team. So if you are new to digital agriculture, we understand many of them start off fresh first time. But what our customer experience team, success team brings to the table is to get you started with the best in class learning, so that you don't go step by step, but you actually take a leap and then go to the next step at the very first moment. So that's what we bring to the table, a learning of digital transformation and looking into your enterprise, doing the whiteboarding session to give you the right space to start off in the first thing, and then you explore ahead from there. We also have a learning environment. So we are very open to learn. We take a lot of suggestions from our customers. So that's the reason we have crop agnostic, region agnostic solutions. It can go in multiple language. It works in all conditions. And that's one of the important features that help us to go global as well. Our value chain approach is one of the things that is also being explored. As I said, it's a full stack, full solution for the farmer, which integrates farming, insurance, finance, markets, and everything. So that's one of the important focus area. And we also bring a lot of partners along with them, so that if we are not doing something of our own, then our partners can easily service that. And we are very open to also working with our channel partners. We can't go and share and implement the solutions all the places. So we are open to partnerships, which can be at different parts of the world. So you can leverage our platform, go and sell in your markets, and then support that. And we would be happy to have you as a partner. And these are some of our experience. We started in India 2010, and then now we are across in 50 plus countries, and then across in 30 million acres of the farms has been digitized. And we have, as I said, the benefit of being a part of Cropin is that our customers are the largest of the world, including Syngenta, Bayer, BASF, East West Seed, to even a small FPO or a cooperative that is working. So we have a full suite of customers all across, also in different segments. And we understand how to support our customers in all of these categories. So happy to come and join your journey and support it digitally. So what we are building is the planet's largest ag data tech platform, and we don't want to stop anywhere. We see that digital and technology is going to be the future, and that's something that we are chasing right now. So that's pretty much I wanted to share. These are some of my coordinates. We can drop a note. And happy to connect post that. So thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Kunal. Whenever I talk to you, I always get amazed, because there are few new things put in the bucket, right? So we have been connected for, I think, more than 4.5 years. And I'm seeing that, like, how you have evolved as a company, as a professional is awesome. Because of lack of time, I'll just ask one question to you, right? There has been a lot of talk about regenerative agriculture, right? And we already have our AI, which is biased toward the conventional way of doing farming, right? Yield, I'll say that we are so much focused on yields, right? And most of the AI and most of the data which is collected is around yields. How do you see that when we move towards a regenerative core or agroforestry level of farming, the digital technology would be able to support it, or do you see a challenge there because of the already existing bias?
So it depends on the market that we are talking about. So if you talk about Europe market, then they are already moving towards regenerative agriculture. We are, just to share, we are part of the Carbon Plus Farming Coalition that's there in Europe. It's through World Economic Forum, but all large players in agriculture like Bayer, Nestle, Syngenta, they are a part, Yara, they are a part of that, and we are one of the technology service providers in that particular consortium. So the objective of that particular initiative is to make Europe carbon neutral by 2030, right? So what we are doing is, then again, we are using technology, both my Smart Farm sort of solution and the Smarter, is to understand that what's happening in agriculture right now and what are the practices which could be tweaked in a certain manner so that it could be more regenerative, it could be more sustainable. And technology obviously plays a very important role, because what we are doing right now, we can also see that what impact in the next year, and if we find a correlation, that the trend can be taken forward. So it depends on the markets. There are markets which are still at below productivity standards. So for those markets, the important focus is to obviously improve their productivity. But for market which has reached their peak, developed part of the world, they are now talking about regenerative agriculture. And as I said, it's a suit. You can have all of them together in our suite, and we support all of them.
Yeah, I can see it's a big challenge, because we might end up with just like least developed countries and developed countries. This is going to happen in agriculture, that a country would be 30 years behind someone which would be in the US or in Europe. So those challenges, I believe, and you are handling those challenges very well, working in multiple markets, working with a small farmer with 0.3 hectares to someone who might be having 3,000 hectares. Thanks a lot, Kunal. It was a pleasure hosting you. As usual, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Deepak. Thank you, everyone.
So guys, we move to our next speaker, and we are having someone who's based out of UK but represent an Israeli company, Arsira Thumapruti. Arsira is the head of business development at AgriTask, focusing on applying precision agriculture technologies in the smallholder context. She leads AgriTask business expansion in the public sector across the globe, including governments, multilateral organizations, and NGOs, with keen interest in value chain development and sustainability promotion. Arsira has nearly 12 years of experience in finance, strategy, and governance, having worked with investment management and advisory services in London and Bangkok. Arsira has an MBA from Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania and a BA in economics from Harvard University. So floor is yours, Arsira. We are all waiting to hear from you.
Hi, Deepak. First of all, thank you very much for the kind introduction and for putting together a great forum. And of course, thank you for the audience and my fellow speakers for attending this session. Just wanted to check if you can hear me well.
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
Yeah, perfect. So with that in mind, I'll share my screen.
Sure.
Yeah, so as Deepak said, today I'm representing AgriTask, and we consider ourselves agronomic intelligence platform. So I'll explain what that is in a second. So in general, AgriTask, what we do is we provide agronomic management platform. So similar to, I guess, many digital agriculture tools, we are also a cloud-based software platform, with the mobile device and a web-based user interface. And what we're here to do is to enable fact-based and on-time decision-making for agricultural stakeholders. Just briefly about the company. So it's been around since 2010 with headquarters in Israel, and we also have offices in Brazil and Bulgaria. We have a team of about 100 people, agronomists and technologists, such as software engineers, GIS, and remote sensing specialists. We work today in 35 countries, and we specialize in going deep into agronomy of over 50 crops. We are backed by Into Resilience Fund, which is affiliated with Germany Development Bank, KfW. So that's just about AgriTask. Very quickly, and today actually I'm not here to really talk about AgriTask, but I hope to perhaps talk a bit more about what we see in the digital agriculture space. But before we get there, just to touch a bit on our experience. So AgriTask, as I said, we work quite deeply into the agronomy of in 35 countries, and we have some selected accounts. Largely speaking, there are two types. So one is what we call the value chain, which means there are typically buyers, operating across multinational countries, or they are in the financial services segments. And here you see some names of the global insurers or reinsurers that we work with. AgriTask, I would say that since 2010, in the first, 7-8 years, we focused a lot on Latin America, and a lot of our clients are also commercial farmers. And since then, I would say in the last 3-4 years, we also grew a lot in Africa and Asia, tapping a lot into the smallholder farmer ecosystem as well. And I believe this gives us kind of a broad spectrum on what we see in these markets. And actually today, I would like to talk more about that than about AgriTask itself. So just to demystifying some of the things, I think digital agriculture is a very broad concept. And I think if you Google it today, you'll probably see, something to the tune of 100, 200 companies doing all kinds of different things. Some specialize in analytics, some specialize in operating platforms. And I think today is closer to this operation platforms. So the software that give visibility, connecting the fields to decision makers, typically in the office. And there are lots of this type of software as well. And what we see is if we take two extreme ends of the market, on the one hand, more transaction oriented. So more farmer and plot registration, more transactions on buying volume and selling volumes, data on resource consumption, what fertilizers have been purchased and stuff like that, and then yield and estimation at the end of the season. So that's kind of one end of the market. You see this type of table format, just kind of mainly for record keeping and monitoring. Typically, the consumers of the data wants to see it once a season, and typically used for supply chain management. So that's on the one spectrum of the market. Now, on the other hand, then you have more genuine precision agriculture, which is used for agronomic decision support, irrigation, soil sampling, pest scouting, etc. Yeah, so it has some overlapping. It also tracks the resource use and yield characteristics and indicators. But I think the key difference here is for precision agriculture, a lot of the data is being consumed live to track what's going on during the season for decision making, with the main goal to optimize yield and resources. So it is more for agronomic management. So if we take these two extreme ends of the market for the transaction-oriented stuff, then we tend to see this more in emerging markets. So you have a lot of smallholder farmers, working in a certain supply chains. Of course, you don't manage to deal with them every day. You don't manage to go over and dictate how they should manage their farms and things like that. On the other hand, on the precision agriculture side, you can say that this is now quite common in the OECD markets. So for example, US farmers or Brazil farmers would need things like this. And what they do typically, and we serve these markets as well. So typically there's a soil sampling, fertilization management. So you log geolocation of the soil, you extrapolate it on the map, you automate all kinds of results into the system, and you generate recommendation on exactly what fertilizers to use per plot. Or another use case would be to track pest level against the chemical application. So you hear in the example of the second box is basically a blue line, which indicates pest level. And then you have this yellow orange circles, which indicate when certain chemicals are used. So you can track if it's effective or not and things like that. And maybe this is the time that you should apply chemicals again. Or, another use case would be irrigation decision support. So that's on the bottom of the page. So the use case here would be to integrate various data sources together, like water strategy as the target, historical and forecast rainfall, and then the irrigation history. And then here you can see kind of the gap on how much else that the plants would need. So these are the kinds of things that you manage in precision agriculture live during the season. Most of our clients that use for things like this, they basically use it, almost daily. Of course, they go across different plots and various farms, and the key of doing so would be to enable decisions that optimize yields and decrease the use of resources towards only necessary. Now, one thing that I want to demystify with regard to the word precision agriculture. So the official definition, precision agriculture is a management strategy, that takes into account all kinds of data across time and space to improve sustainability of agricultural production. Now, by management strategy, and this is the keyword, this means that you do a certain operations and approach that fit best for your farm. So what does it mean? It means that there's no need for fancy equipment or hardware. And here, I would still put forth a rather controversial ground that at the end of the day, foot on the ground is still the most cost-effective and reliable approach for data acquisition. Of course, with today's technologies, it went beyond the realm, although connected to digital agriculture. And you have drones, you have sensors, you have all kinds of machineries going and collect data. But at the end of the day, I think by precision agriculture, you can still do in a way that fit best your existing workflow and processes and your current resources. So for example, you don't need a drone. You can use field scouts, and then you can still scout the fields to detect pests and disease in a structured way. And you can still collect data in a structured way on the spatial and temporal level. So here, for example, on the top part, then you see a screen with specific locations that you see the pest. You can see the threshold where it becomes, hotspots. You can generate alerts and things like that. You can do with field scouts, i.e. people, as well as drones. Yeah, and then another example here is, for example, of course, you can use soil moisture, local weather stations. In fact, a lot of our clients use that, but equally, a lot of people that we work with also use something very simple like rain gauge cups, and you measure how much rains that you collect in this little cup, and you can still extrapolate that result and see how much rain is just being accumulated per plot, and that then supports your decision making, that then supports your ability to see how relevant rainfall is to crop yield, for example. So you can still do equally well with some very, very basic tools that anyone could have access to. Now, equally, no need for fancy analytics. I feel that the word AI is a fad in general in agriculture and also in other industries. But I think the key is technology is just the means to an end, right? Including AI and other kinds of analytics. And the key is to have some robust, proven methodologies that work. And if I were to be very honest, a lot of our sophisticated clients actually still do something very on ground, very operational. This means, for example, they still send someone to the fields and still cross-check and ground truth field protocols, and they rely on that even more than things like remote sensing and stuff like that. Although, of course, we believe that the most efficient way and the most effective way is to combine the two, right? So here you see on the left-hand side, we have data from remote sensing satellite that we process into to indicate crop health in various categories. So the dark green is where the crops are doing really well. The red is not so well, and the range of green in the middle is in between. So here you can plan crop cutting or sampling protocols, so that this way you collect samples in a way that's well distributed across different parts of your plots. And at the end of the day, a lot of our clients actually have their own protocols for yield estimation. Not that because they're special, but it's because agriculture at the end of the day is very localized thing. We believe that there's no one size that fits all for agriculture. So for each crop, we have specific protocol, and even the same neighbors growing the same crops might also have very different ways of working. And again, because technology is the means to an end, so we need to fit that into specific workflow and local understanding. However, what precision agriculture requires or entails, so crop and geography specific protocols that I mentioned previously. This means that it has to be, in order to be relevant for operation, in order to be usable at the field level, meaning that the local people or the field scouts or even the farmers in some cases, it needs to be the data collection protocols that they can also understand. And we can simplify it to make them understand. So there's a trade-off between having a very scientific structure approach versus something very simple that can get even the most basic farmers, who can, some of them don't even read or write, like they can just punch, a button like red or green if they see something unusual. But to have that kind of communication from the field level to the office or the decision-making people is important to be able to accommodate such specific protocols. Another thing for precision agriculture is structured process and approach to be able to quality control, to be able to build database properly to accelerate learning curve. The third thing that I think a lot of users in this space would value is interoperability with other data sources and technologies. This is probably not for everyone, but to be future ready, and as you know, there are lots of adjacent technologies emerging, weather analytics, irrigation, forecast, or things like that. And there, of course, even though AgriTask can support all kinds of models, but we acknowledge that there are areas that certain specialist players will be better than us in their delivering results. And the key here is to be able to coordinate with them to the benefit of the users. So they have decision making on one platform, incorporating different data sources. So for us, interoperability is key for precision agriculture. The last part is supporting various visualizations and models. And these include, of course, these forecast and data analytics. And the key here, I think, is to streamline decision-making processes, to reduce the errors and to be able to cross-check and ground truth very quickly, what works and what not, and things like that. So you continue to improve from one season to another. And I think in this case, then the digital tools, again, technology has to be the means to an end. Digital tools can make very strong case within the context of precision agriculture. It reduces errors associated with manual data collection. And by this, we mean, setting data validation rules, minimizing writing in the fields. Basically, with the mobile app, you can have kind of very electronic forms where you check from multiple choices or choose from a drop-down menu. You can do all of these things that can streamline processing later on as well. So from cleaning on analytics, you can flag the thresholds that across which it seems like outliers or errors. You can then automatically log in the time and location stamp associated with each data, which then enable you to create very structured database, which is then the foundation of all kinds of analytics. Digital tools are also helpful to support large-scale operations. Of course, if you have a very small plot, you don't need this on a one-to-one basis. That I can even tell you, even though we provide such services. But to be honest, if you see the fields every day when you wake up, you don't need this kind of tool. But if you work with hundreds, thousands, or tens of thousands or millions of farmers, of course, you need something in order to scale up your own workforce and also your expertise in order to codify some of that knowledge onto the digital platform. And the list goes on. So this is kind of, I think, the short recap of, the relevance of digital tools in precision agriculture and a little bit of flavor into what AgriTask can provide to relevant stakeholders. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Arcira. It was super fast, short, and crisp. It was awesome to have such a detailed overview of your solution. I have just a couple of questions for you. One thing is that when we talk about the context of using multiple data, whether sensors as well as ground truth data as well as satellite data, right? Does the system validate the data on its own, or does it need human intervention to clean that data? Because I've seen that different data, it creates a lot of challenges because of erroneous way of collection of that data.
Yeah, Deepak, if you don't mind, could you slow down your question a bit? I think there's some echo, so I couldn't hear clearly.
Sure. So I was asking that when you collect data from multiple sources, right? So typically image processing from the satellite as well as the ground data through sensors, as well as the human intervention collection of data. And there is always chance of error creeping in. So does the system is able to take care or validate that data on its own? Does it, or it needs human intervention?
Yeah, so for AgriTax, we can do both. And I think this is quite common for smart farm management software in most OECD countries. I think the truth is the agri-tech ecosystem also needs to come together and to serve the farmers' needs, right? Or the agronomist needs at the end of the day. And the truth is they don't need make decisions with silos information. So for example, you don't make decisions with just weather data. You make decisions with weather and soil and the historical records of your irrigation, and historical record of your chemical applications and fertilizers. Like you use all of these data together to make decisions. So it becomes imperative, I believe, for many precision agriculture platforms in order to bring intelligence to support decision making in a holistic way, to enable all these interactions between all kinds of data sources, whether through model or through dashboard or summary report. So that becomes key. Yes.
Super. Now the same question actually, which I asked Kunal also, you work with farmers and the conventional agriculture, right, has been put in when as a part of intelligence, whether we are talking about the man-made models or machine learning driven models. There is always bias toward conventional farming with focus on yields. But when you work in those countries where actually the environment protection has become a critical issue, for example, Europe, where we are talking about, or Netherlands, where we're talking about by 2030, have typically hardly any negative impact of agriculture. Do you see that this creating a challenge going forward as a AI bias?
Could you repeat your question? Sorry.
Yeah, so I was saying that because we are predominantly talking about conventional farming, right, where actually focus is always on yield. So try to use more optimize, for example, precision agriculture for whether pesticide, fertilizer, and focus on creating better or more product. However, when we talk about the environmental aspect, where we are moving towards the agriculture, which is more regenerative agriculture, circular economy, do you see that existing bias, whether it's a man-made model or machine learning driven models, would they pose a challenge going forward?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. I believe that actually, at the end of the day, these kind of analytics, especially in the agriculture context, need to be very, very localized. I actually would be quite skeptical if someone comes with off-the-shelf model and claims that they can predict yield for any crop for any farm in the world, right? That's quite extreme. We believe that in order to actually get to a very accurate, yield estimation or some other kinds of predictive capabilities, you need to build up the localized data to be able to set up, to train, and to validate your model quite constantly. Yeah. So admittedly, in commercial farms, such data is more readily available. Even before the digital age, these guys actually keep pretty good records of their farms, right? On papers, if you manage tens of thousands of hectares or even thousands, even hundreds, you have to be fairly organized. Yeah, so you keep such data. I think where the challenge comes with smallholder context is basically there is no such record available. So you kind of need to start, from scratch in many of the places in the world. And if you go to some regenerative agriculture or any kind of new farming practices, actually a lot of people who are our clients or to talk to us, basically they focus on building such data collection from scratch to build their own database in a way that then would be relevant to their own operations, because they would have their own methodology. They're changing many of the variables. So we strongly believe that actually, and a lot of sophisticated clients, to be honest, they prefer that approach. Many of the multinational companies, very well resourced that work with us, very frankly, very few of them come and say, could you predict ABC for us? Of course, they want some toys to play with, but at the end of the day, many of them come and say, okay, let's spend, 2 or 3 seasons slowly get the data right and structure in an organized way, establish the baseline, and then from there, you can do a lot of quite amazing things, right? Remember that in agriculture, it's not like consumer data, like those models where you can basically detect its life and update your model life and things like that. But agriculture is a seasonal thing, and most crops, aside from some 2 or 3 seasons, crop is 1 year, so so you do need some degree of building up the analytics, I believe.
No, I totally agree with you 100%. Agriculture is, I always say that you need to have patience, planning, and passion. Then only get into agriculture, whether you're on the tech side or you're a farmer. So thanks, Sarazira, for a really interesting session. Really appreciate you joining us, and look forward to have more interactive sessions with you in future. Thank you.
Yeah.
So now we go to our next session, which is actually panel discussion. We are having some awesome guests with us. I would like to start with introduction to Mr. Jiten Shah. So Jiten is the Director Business Consulting, Agriculture and Chemical Sector at Ernst & Young. He has 26 plus years of experience with C-suite executive with an ability to set up and scale new businesses. Proficient in partnering with senior business and technology leaders to develop strategies, roadmaps, and digital solutions that promote a seamless omni-channel consumer experience. Highly skilled in liaising with CEOs and multiple stakeholders to optimize process, facilitate sound decision-making, and deliver compelling business value to the stakeholders. He has demonstrated success as project portfolio and project management professional with over a decade of experience delivering over $800 million plus value projects. So I would like to have Jiten. And Jiten, the first question to you is very simple. You have been in this field for a long time, a veteran, right? From Mahindras to HnyB. And I will ask you a simple question. What plagues Indian agriculture industry so that we are not able to scale up our digital solutions?
Thanks, Deepak. And I think we know each other for 7 years now.
Yeah, close to, yes.
Yeah, being speakers at various forums, and thank you for this opportunity once again. And I think, Deepak, let us start from the roots as to what is that root problem with the Indian agriculture. Obviously, if we have to believe the data, 80% plus is small and marginal farmers. We know that very well. The second aspect is the average household income, which is maybe less than 6,500 a month. If you were to believe the open source data, which is there available, that means that if you let out the expenditure, what is left with the farmer to spend on technology? That's the first question. While we say digital agriculture is out there, and I have also interacted with a lot of startups, you know that very well. And because the farmer's ability is not there to pay for the technology, hence startups have moved from B to B2C. There is a reason for it, because they are there to do some business while making a social impact. And I think the root cause is obviously the affordability of the farmer to pay for technology. While in agri reforms, we are trying to remove the middleman. I think here a middleman is required who will pay for the technology. So that's first thing which I would want to say. And scaling up of digital agriculture, I think there are 4 A's that come to my mind. The way you said the 3 P's, my 4 A's are awareness, accessible, affordability, and adoption. And I think if you focus on this 4A, it will lead us somewhere to what we are trying to do with digital agriculture. actually making a positive impact on the farmers. You have been on ground, I have been on ground with the farmers interacting. And I think after talking to 100 farmers, I get to know that one farmer is actually using technology. Correct me if I'm wrong, Deepak.
No, 100%. I'm totally with you.
Yeah. And if we were, Kunal also shared some data points, which is like around 40 to 50% now rural India is on smartphones. So that means 50% anyways doesn't have access to digital in India.
True.
Right? And out of that, how many can afford it? If we have that funnel filtering done, I think less than 1% of the farmers would actually benefit out of digital technology. So while, you know, and I read an interesting one single statement when I think 6 or 7 years back, when I was with my ex-organization where we connected. And that was very interesting. And then I had a team out over there. One of the guys said that new technology cannot be created without science. And I think this science word is very important over here. While we are talking about digital agriculture, the root is the science of everything. And I think leveraging science and agri-science is one thing which we all miss to talk about, and I'm yet to see in any forum this being discussed. Where, you know, there is a lot of potential where, you know, affordable solutions for small and marginal farmers can be provided. We know that there is a climate change which is happening. It is for real now, and it is impacting farmers in big way and farming in big way. And what are we doing on that? Maybe in bits and pieces, in silos, we are trying to do everybody is trying to do everything. So I think there is a focus area which is required where this needs to be thought about, how you can leverage agri-science, the universities which are out there. There are research papers available. And I think there are some key words out over there which are available. Crop phenology is an agri-science where you can actually predict the growth of the plants and even the insects. If you put that at root and build technology on that, I think it is going to be a big plus point. And then a lot of things will fall in place, is in my opinion. I'll take a pause over here. Deepak, over to you.
Sure. No, so Jiten, actually, I fully agree with you. In fact, like, you know, if you get an opportunity, look at a company called Inari, INARI. They're based out of US, and actually, like, you know, they're using all AI and predictive science technology as well as phenology and all those things to make seed, which is tailor-made to your land, right? And they're already working with soya and they're working with corn, right? And they are among the very few companies which are doing the multiplexing of gene, right? So they don't just touch edit genes by just one place. They see the, like, you know, impact of it on multiple places and try to do that. Super technology, and Ponsi, the CEO, is a good friend, and she's doing a terrific work. Please have a look at that. Secondly, as you rightly said, actually, like, you know, in a lot of forums, a lot of things are missed. So that's why rather than have one forum, we are having this 7 series, right? We talked about irrigation. We talked about the challenge of why we, like, you know, free water and free electricity creates more problem than the solution. Today we are talking about digital agriculture. Next is about, like, you know, input management, and then we'll be like, the last one is actually agriculture protocol, where all of this will come in line, and we talk about, like, you know, that the science is more important than anything else. So I fully agree with you. Now, because you are having a shortage of time, I would again ask the next question to you. See, when we do our own analysis and research, right, we found that there are 2 parts of the, like, you know, ecosystem. One is when we talk about the countries like Vietnam, which are having, like, you know, the CAGR of around 14 to 15% when it comes to digital agriculture. So they are, like, you know, small marginal farmers, right, smaller economy. And then you're having large economy, whether when you talk about Europe and America, again, they are 14.3, 14.8% CAGR. India is supposed to be having the largest ecosystem for startups in agriculture. Our growth is 10.8%. Do you see not just the farmer, there is something other also structural problem, because Vietnam has the same problem, farmer cannot pay, right? So even the developed economy and developing economy, both are doing better than us when it comes to the, I'll say that the value created for tech companies. So what's your view on that?
So I think sheer size or the volume is the biggest problem. Okay, that's the first problem. Vietnam, I think comparatively the number of farmers which you see, what they have versus what we have, and to reach out in terms of the width, to reach out to the farmer. That is why if you go back to the 4 A's, which I said, accessible and awareness, I think we are missing the bigger point of awareness and accessibility everywhere. I don't know how many farmers are aware that something is available just 5 kilometers down the line. For him, it is there, but I don't think he's aware of that. So I think sheer size is one thing. And again, going back to awareness and accessible, these are two problem statements which I feel in our economy. And I think if you see our Google Play, there are 10,000 apps which are giving weather information, right?
And all wrong. And all wrong.
And all wrong. And we are totally confusing the farmer, right?
True.
By giving information. It is not even actionable information, okay? So the sheer size also creates confusion. He doesn't know whom to believe. And historically, I think he has been cheated a lot. So the trust factor is lost. He doesn't know whom to believe on. These are basic root cause, and I don't know how you are going to change that and improvise on that.
No, I fully agree with you. Like, we are doing farming with one of our partners, and believe me, 16th of June was supposed to have monsoon. It came on 12th of July, right? And farmer does sowing. We did sowing based on that. But we were, I'll say that smart enough to understand these challenges and pre-plan for that. But small and marginal farmers, you don't expect him to have all that resources.
Correct. So there's the answer in your itself. Which startups go and tell the farmer this actuals, real thing?
Not many. Not many. So exactly. I would like, I know you are having challenge of time. So my last question for you would be what would be your recommendation for scaling up digitization in India, especially in agriculture and for small marginal farmers?
I think technology is an enabler, and moreover, we should focus on science first, getting science at the center and then building technology. There are solutions available. As I said, crop phenology and GDD models are available. And I know there are some audience on this call who have worked with me on that, and they would bet and agree on that, because we have piloted this for 4 years and we have got phenomenal results, accuracies of pest prediction of 80-90% in some of the crops, even irrigation based on weather, accuracies, I would say, because irrigation is the root cause of pest attack. More water, the moment the crop gets stressed with less or more water, you have pest attacks. So based on weather, if you give him advisory, and that is totally around science, okay? There are sciences which are available and there are research papers which are available. I have done that myself in my previous organization. In my new role, I cannot do that, but I have done that, and in personal capacity, I still pursue on that, and I still do a lot of things on that. I have developed models on that. But I think one single person cannot do anything. It is like the moonshot program. Back JF Kennedy in 1961 said that he wants to send a man to the moon. Nobody knew how. But after 9 years, it was a real truth. And NASA, who had the best of engineers and scientists, still took help of 12,000 partners. That itself says something for us, So somebody one alone is not going to be able to do this. You need a complete collaboration platform where people should collectively come and do this. Then only this is going to happen.
Perfect. So thanks a lot, Jitin. So I would now let me pull in my next speaker. Hey Arjun, let me introduce you. So Arjun is a founder of a company called Evolving Roots. The main focus of Evolving Root is to produce more with less by using scientific practices in sustainable way, and thereby increasing yields and reducing wastage of food, water and soil. And they are having a very clear defined plan for next 5 years to ensure that we create food for at least 500,000 people, and that to superfood. So floor is your, Arjun. My first question to you would be what are the technical intervention do you see for a corporate farmers like you, which is having a vision to scale up your operation to thousands of hectares in future?
First of all, thank you so much, Deepak, for having me on this platform, sharing it with so many wonderful people in this field. So thank you for having me here. In response to your question, I think the larger farms are inevitable to the evolution of farm economy. I feel this is a small price to pay for feeding the growing population of the world. um, we all know at what rate the population is growing, and in return of that, the way we are running out of resources. So agriculture is very important to the security of any nation because people must eat, right? Like other industries as well, that need a paradigm shift, so does agriculture, especially when one looks at the process from seed to scale. At Evolving Roots, we look at how uniquely we can also offer tech interventions in the hands of the farmers themselves. Every process in agriculture, I feel, is purely dependent on the unpredictability, and that's why we look at all the areas from soil, weather, pests, what else, water security, global markets, farmer skills to farm management, so that we can have a kind of a spin with technologies as well that can increase the yields, efficiency, the precision in a very sustainable manner. In the agriculture sector, of course, many other critically important assets do not necessarily have a formal economic value. So think of clean environment, for example, or carbon conservation, good public health, for example, again, or even a thriving community. We intend to look at all of these technologies as well that can help generate those onto our farms too. Um, Also, one other thing that I just thought of was, since I have also worked extensively in the US in the F&B industry, I understand that the importance that they give to creating new categories is backed extensively by a lot of R&D. These are led by scientific innovations. I would like to ideally also bring back that learning and create a science-backed application on these farms that we currently do have.
Super awesome. Like, we need progressive youth, right, to work on agriculture like yours. Like, that was, in fact, when you said that, thanks for inviting you, thanks for being here, because it's very important that, like, young people like you, which are having global exposure, who understand the industry, who have been in F&B, right, get into agriculture, right? And they always say that get your hand dirty. I say that get your hands in soil, because soil is not dirty. And that is what you are doing. Congratulations for that. My next question would be like, how do you see, like, or the reason, according to you, why digital technology is not scaling up in India?
Well, there are quite a few reasons. I think there is obviously an increased interest in data-enabled farming and related services, and many new entrants from the technology industry and startups are obviously there. Vast data collection will drive the use of machine learning and AI, and new models will need to be developed to make the data useful, obviously. But as we are seeing agriculture go through a digital makeover, there are definitely some challenges that we encounter when we talk about transformation from a larger perspective, or rather transformation on a much larger scale. So, some of those factors are, you can put them to rural versus urban. So, if the right infrastructure is not in place, then no matter how good technology you create, it's not going to be as efficient. And especially in the developing countries, the divide is pretty large between the urban and the rural. Also, in terms of the connectivity, I know that we've moved on from every year the connectivity keeps on improving and improving, and technology is moving quickly. But even then, the mobile cellular subscriptions, internet, computer access is growing as well. But a large chunk of the world population, in fact, are still offline, not just in India, but just globally as well. So the network coverage still remains a challenge. Affordability of smartphones is still a challenge, which I know we will hopefully overcome really soon. But still today is still a challenge. And that challenge is going to continue over a period of time. The other aspect I feel is also, especially in the rural areas, a lack of infrastructure and resources often limits the quality of education. And you need to be digitally literate to be able to use technology the way we are talking about it today. Also, I feel that in certain countries, the e-governance in the agri sector holds back a lot of new generation of agriculture entrepreneurs. However, compared to just a decade ago, the governments have made a significant progress. So hopefully that should release a lot of pressure from this aspect that we are talking about, and it will definitely be a large boost for all the stakeholders. One other thing that comes to mind is when we talk about technology would be that, there are always chances of technological failures or mechanical or hardware failures. And when it is deployed on a very large scale, those implications could be extremely damaging as well. Just because of some problem within that sphere, you don't want to be underwatering or overwatering your crops, because that could lead to massive problems. So I think especially in the developing countries where people have limited education or knowledge or lack of resources, these are constant thoughts that people may have, and the reservation as to whether to go for it or not to go for it. Again, when we are talking about scale, it means that we are talking about possibly different regions, different weather conditions. We are talking about different crops, not just looking at it from a single crop point of view, which means that whatever data you collected for a specific crop in a specific region may not be useful again for the entire spectrum of whatever you are using it for. And again, so just having one application probably will not solve the purpose. So again, there's a lot of learning that keeps on going within the AI space as well, or within the digital space as well. And through that learning, obviously over a period of time, you'll be able to get to a good enough analysis of that data.
Perfect. So last question to you, Arjun, there are a lot of tech companies sitting across on this roundtable, right? On the panel as well as who are in the audience. For a corporate farmer like you, how do you make a decision to take a technology or buy a technology?
There's so much of technology out there. It's kind of difficult to pick and choose as to what you want to do and what not. But I think if you have focus on what your personal needs are and why you are using what you're using, I think that should make it fairly simple. But I'll just go over some of the basics that we would be looking at. So the kind of technology that we would be after is a kind that keeps on improving over a period of time. They are constantly evolving with times. So the software should be able to evolve, and if by using AI, it can constantly also keep learning from the data collected, it makes for a much better solution. Collection of data and utilizing it to make informed decisions is obviously a basic need. But if the same can also be used to make advanced analysis, it would make it much useful for building a better efficiency in the future as well. A lot of technologies that we would look at would be the ones that constantly keep innovating and keep on adding new features as we go along. They should be able to customize over a period of time, whether it be with their features, languages, or just by the way where they are being used. So maybe the same technology or the same application used in India versus that being used in Mexico. If the technology can integrate both of it, then it's much better for that. Also, I think a lot of companies like us who ourselves, we ourselves are not a tech company, but we would like to deploy the technology. So with technology comes a lot of data, and that data, while it's very useful and it helps you make informed decisions, it can also be troublesome at times because there's too much of data and you do not necessarily know which are the right points to track, because as you keep scaling, the data also keeps growing across crops, across regions, across a variety of things. So we would ideally like to depend on the tech provider that for the help in terms of not just the tracking part of it, but more from an analytical perspective as to what are the right points, and that if that can be customized to a much larger extent, I think that would make the job much simpler for everyone. The last point that I would talk about would be the integration. There are several softwares and AIs that can do variety of different things and are used for variety of different purposes. But some are useful for, so while some are useful for forecasting, some are useful for input and yield management and farm management and other things. It becomes important if all of those different platforms can be integrated and can work together for a single individual or a single farm. I think with integration comes a lot of, I mean, I personally add a lot of value to integration because it helps in analyzing it, not just from a single viewpoint, but from a holistic approach as well, which I think makes it much useful.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Arjun. I believe the tech companies are listening and they understand what customer needs. So I would like to now go to the next panelist, Tushar. So let me just give a brief introduction of Tushar. So, So Tushar is a founder director of E3 Integrated. He is a successful entrepreneur with over 15 years of experience and knowledge across various industry and vertical. He has been running a very successful event organization company as well as technology integration, system integration company. So Tushar, thanks a lot for being here. And my first question would be like, you are someone who has been working very closely with the government and knows the right buttons to press. I would like to understand from you, where do you see that government going when it comes to like, their initiatives in digital agriculture?
Well, first of all, Mr. Deepak, thank you so much for inviting me for this forum. And really thanks all my other speakers and panelists, to add value. And we really appreciate your efforts, behind organizing such forums. This is pretty much in need. Well, coming back to your question, I tell you, government has been very focused of late on areas related to digitizing the agriculture scene. For example, let's say to collect and digitize on-ground information about farmers' activities, like what they're sowing, when they're planting, what varieties are they planting, etc., etc. So the main idea behind this is they want to be precise in the estimation of output so that in the future, better management of commodities can be done. So this will help actually government also to plan well in advance about the procurement and the stabilization of prices, which is currently a major issue. And second, the government is very keen on creating the better or more efficient value chain for different commodities. So by way of creating better connected marketplaces or mandis, which is still not in place right now. The whole focus again is to digitize the whole value chain, so as to remove or reduce the wastages as well as improve elastic price discovery. So this is the main idea behind the current initiatives. And look at the macro level right now. I have been, I listened to Jiten, and again, a dear friend, and what even Arjun, pointed out. So yes, right now, as rightly said that, that there are a lot of technologies available, working in silos or in micro level. But, the challenges are of course different. And what the government is thinking is right now is total data driven analytics and the connectivity at a macro level. So think at a macro level also. They're thinking at a very much macro level right now. It's just not a one region is specific or area specific or a very much crop is specific. It is actually connecting everything together at one platform.
Oh, perfect. So Tushar, actually, like, you have been someone who have been doing a lot of events around agriculture. In fact, like, I think since 2018, that you are having this super awesome web summit where I was once upon a time a speaker, and after that continuously I've been speaker, right? And I'll say that a little bit of what I'm doing today is also infection from you, right? Only thing is that for you it was a business, the pure business. For me it is more of fun, right? So that's where it like it becomes a little bit divergent. You work very closely with honorable ministers, like when the Shaktawat Sahab were there, you were close to him, Tomar Sahab, and a lot of bureaucrats all around, and a lot of agriculture ministers I've seen you hobnobbing with. In your view, what is the challenge? Why the government has not been able to scale up digital initiatives the way they want to scale up?
Well, well, I think that the government is really.
Or maybe you are not advising them properly.
No, that's not the case though. But let me tell you the real challenges now today, as we are discussing it, and I'm sure people are here all faced it. They must also they can also contribute. But the real focus right now, as the government is totally focused on doubling farmers' income. That is pretty much clear. And even our honorable Prime Minister has been talking about it. That using modern technology for the same, we would like to use it. So technology, of course, will play a very, very important role, or to achieve this target and number, though it was supposed to be in 2022. But of course, there are challenges. So the first challenge is that, of course, there are a lot of disconnects in how the different parts of the one ecosystem works. And second, the data of successful project is not available. So for example, let's say Arjun is doing something great, or Neeraj is doing something great, okay? Or Nikhil is doing something great. But where is that common platform where all the success, all the data, all the information is available? Now that is one. And second, the data, of course, and the second problem is that most of the EdTech players, they're working in specific geographies or the niche technologies or solutions, in their own domains only, while the government needs a very holistic solution. So when I say holistic, as I said earlier also, that we are looking at a very macro level solutions right now, something, and this is why, we are trying to create a system integration driven ecosystem. So multiple EdTech companies can provide the solution through our E3 platform. Even we have recently partnered with IIT Roorkee also. We recently partnered with IFCO Kisan, so where we have launched smart farms also. This is an infection which came from you otherwise right now. So, but this is very surprising that even today, and I've been watching all your series, by the way, and amazing people, amazing knowledge, which, which you bring to the table. Again, different platforms they're doing across India, they're doing in shallows, different technologies available. Issues are different, okay? Let's say farmers not able to adapt to technologies, awareness is not there, said by Jiten, or, some other, but there's no single platform where all these can be applied together, and at a larger scale, of course, because that is one thing for sure. Technology cannot be applied on a very small marginal farmers, which is the case 80%, as again said by the experts here. So what we are doing right now is we have taken a minimum size of 100 hectare, and we are creating a fantastic model, farm basis smart farm. And this is what we already started doing in Haryana, near Hisar. And again, we are trying to, create one simple ecosystem so that the same model can be repeated elsewhere. So which is a complete system. Again, we are not the tech company, as Arjun also mentioned, but yes, we are a one system integrator company, which is bringing all the experts together.
Perfect, Tusharji. Wish you all the best for your Hisar project. Actually, I was supposed to visit in my last visit to Delhi. Unfortunately, because of rain, we were not able to go. So next time when I'm in Delhi, look forward to see your smart farm coming up, and wish you all the best. Now, I would like to now pull in Nikhil. Now, the reason to pull in Nikhil at the last was that actually, someone who has solved the problem of scaling in India, right? So Nikhil actually represent a company, right, which has actually been able to solve this puzzle of scaling in India, right, and reaching to farmers which are most difficult terrain, when we talk about Bihar, Eastern UP, these are a difficult terrain, and Nikhil has been able to do that. So in introduction, Nikhil is VP of Digital and Network Initiative at the Dehat, and he has been ex-founder of Farm Guide. Again, Nikhil, you have been having a huge experience working with the government, right? You were part of even the insurance initiative of the government, crunched a lot of data around it. So I would like to understand the secret sauce of that you've been able to scale up in your previous company and current company, right? To the most difficult, the small marginal farmers, that too, geographies, typically Eastern India, right? And I'll say that the real Dehat of India. The floor is yours, Nikhil.
Yeah, thank you so much, Deepak, and thank you so much, Jiten, Neeraj, Tushar, for sharing their thoughts. That was really insightful. And to your question, Deepak, I would say the models, even before Dehat or at Dehat, if I speak about that, as Jiten mentioned, that accessibility, awareness, and affordability, and finally the adoption. In order to make sure that all those four things happen, it was really important to make sure that we understand the last mile, A part, we source data from last mile, we deliver at last mile, we aggregate at last mile. Making everything at the last mile has been of paramount importance. So if I talk about our journeys in our model, just for everyone, that we have been able to create model in Dehat under which we source information through satellite at a farm level. Then we do have farmers utilizing or connecting with our call centers, IVRS platforms, uh, even the farmer apps. Above that, we have a micro entrepreneur. A micro entrepreneur, which is a kind of a person who's working as a retailer at even later in the block level, at the gram panchayat level. That's a third layer. Above that, then we have a layer at a district level. Above that, then we have multiple districts, clusters, business head into input, output, or financing services. The thing which I want to highlight is there, if you have your model, if the business model allows you to have multiple hierarchies starting from a farm level to a farmer to a micro entrepreneur to a district level towards a cluster level, if you have your functionary around them, it makes it possible for you to source data at a last mile, being able to process the data at each and every level. So utilizing our farm insights, we give advisory to the farmers. Basis the responses which we receive from the farmers, we make sure that those kind of right inputs are being available at our micro entrepreneurs. Basis the farmer ask for the output and the prices, we make sure that the aggregator is ready to purchase that particular set of outputs from the local area. Basis the sales data which the aggregator or which the retailer and the procurement data which the aggregator puts, we are able to devise a strategy for the complete district, that in this district what kind of inputs shall be most required for the farmer to be able to adapt to either such kind of climatic conditions, being able to get reduce their post harvest losses to the minimal, and also being able to use, I would say, right kind of actions so as to make the shelf life of the produce way bigger. After the district level, now if we have that kind of granularity, that has been able to attract multiple input and output players. So there are around 700 input and output players which are being connected with the Dehat ecosystem. So in a nutshell, the thing is that a very data driven supply chain under which the business model is making us possible to have a kind of resource person or a team starting from a farm till a level of upper end has given us enough insight and keep on adding us, so that improves our AI algorithms, that improves our understanding of the agri science altogether, which Jiten mentioned it, he cannot be more louder than that, but that is the thing which we see that so this important part of agri science is something where we invest a lot of amount of time, resources, and that is only possible once you have a data coming from a farm and a farmer level. It is near to impossible to think about a kind of tech solution and target the farmers just blindly that they adopt to it. That's not going to happen, because even with the minimalistic, say, weather advisory, for a farmer to consume weather advisory, he needs to understand what's the actionable outcome, out of it. So when we provide an advisory to the farmer's actionable outcome starts either from the app or just the retailer, which is say 1 kilometer down the line. So that makes it possible that for whichever information which you provide to the farmer, the way for a farmer interact, farmer feels the local face of the company is always present. Once they see a local face, then their reflectance to your technology changes altogether. It wouldn't be something that a company sitting at Gurgaon is being sending messages to them. They feel like, okay, this message is being sent because they are people at the ground who understand that this area is under inundation and crop sowing cannot happen for next 15 days. What's something which you can do? So that way the farmers are being able to see that, okay, our information which we provide them is very real, is very customized, and have that kind of agri science required at which the farmers have been traditionally working upon. So that had been, overall thesis which we have been to draw so far.
No, super actually. In fact, if you can identify a couple of players in Indian tech industry, right? Dehat and Cropin, AgroStar, they are the few which have been able to reach to the level where actually they are having notice. Otherwise, we keep on talking about 500 to 5,000 numbers of tech startup. I don't know actually which to agree. Now, the next question is that actually we already have heard like, 3 of your prospective customers. I say prospect because I'm not very sure where the direction of business model you want to drive to. So we are having a corporate farmer, we are having a government supported small and marginal farmers, and then we are having someone who sells B2B. Then he also talk about B2B2C, right? So yeah. What is the secret sauce you believe that actually are the which specific customer you would like to focus, and where I'll say that people should be working with Dehat?
Okay, great. So Deepak, to our model, since our solution had been always seed to market, so wherever it starts from creation of a network of farmers or creation of a network of micro entrepreneurs, that's always our first step. So if I pick the first one, it's the corporate farming. Okay. So how do we engage? Because we understand that a corporate farmer might have a requirement of a specific crop. Okay. However, in order to convert it into a cluster, it requires to have a 12-month long trust with the farmers. How does our model turns into? So first thing is that micro entrepreneurship. We create micro entrepreneurs through which we supply all kind of relevant inputs and have a digital advisory system which runs 12 months around the year, so that the farmers once start transacting with those our micro entrepreneurs, we are able to capture their data. We are able to create their profiles. We are able to see what kind of shortfall they are having into cash returns. This, along with the advisories, gives us enough kind of sense. And then if we have a certain kind of aggregator, say in our case, a corporate farmer who's interested into one particular crop, we are being able to make sure that we procure all the crops with right traceability up to the level of a farm, of every farmer lot, and with all kind of sustainable advices to the farmer, so as to make sure that he makes the best quality and quantity of the particular crop. This ecosystem, this cluster, once being created, is something which is long lasting. Here, we are not dependent just upon the technology, because we have that micro entrepreneur, that farmer transition being recording on every daily basis, that giving us more insight. And as we see into our various different projects, which we are doing for lychee, which we are doing going for zinc wheat production, we have seen that as the farmers' data gets on punching, we have now launched farmer financing options, farmer insurance options. So these things all together create a very close-knit approach over the farmer community and the local community, making the kind of corporate farmer being able to see that there's a great amount of stickiness with the farmer network. If they require certain specific outcome of the particular, if they require certain barcoding, the farmers are eager to do that by themselves, because they know, they have felt that, okay, this company has been there throughout the sales cycle. So I would say for the corporate farmers, to conclude, micro entrepreneurship, input supplies, 12 months crop advisories, and fourth one is that ability to knit all the three things digitally, so that we record each and every transaction. And on top of it, one can provide various kinds of services to the farmers. So these will be our approach for the first leg, which you have spoken about. On the second leg, if I talk about government, if I pick, so I do see that, with respect to database, government has most of the own databases and all. When it comes to the ground infrastructure, we understand that a great role has to be played by the government, but yes, things have been majorly improving in that area. However, one thing which I think that, that if done, could really boost the agri-tech scenario and also the farmers' adoption to it, is that with the set of farmer data, there should be a kind of platform under which any company can customize and make farmers aware about the offering. First part. Second part, if the awareness is being linked by ground partners or the ground infrastructure, be it the micro entrepreneurs, be it different agri-tech companies doing well into those geographies. So if the data converge into the communication and communication converging into the ground partner, this ecosystem once being built could really build wonders for the farming ecosystem, because it doesn't take much of a science for the insurance company to understand, hey, I have an insurance product for a mustard farmer meant for, say, less than 2 hectares. They know that. But how do they reach out to them? If the farmers are interested, how do the farmer can get his policies being made within 1 hour? That's just one example. So we saw that, this is something where government can think about that. Apart from the data, How about a kind of a real communication platform linked with the ground partners? So that will be a great value addition from the government side. And yes, on the government side, the second thing is always about land records. Like, so everybody knows that, because we know that 80% of farmers are not that financially capable to adopt not just to technology, but any other inputs or right kind of hybrid irrigation tools. In that case, financing is a very core source, very important requirement. For the financing to be free flow, land records registration is something which would really boost it along. So that's the second part. On the B2B side, I would say, be it be on an input partner, an output partner, DeHaat offers a transparency. You tell the region to supply to, you tell the region to procure to, you provide transparency about last mile farmer, block, that dealer, and the district, about what trade is being happening today, what trade can happen tomorrow, and what was our trade across all the companies in the past year. These three information is being available to all our B2B partners. We generally work where the B2B partner is looking for a very long-lasting partnership, whether in terms of input supplies, farmer welfares, schemes, or it could be terms of aggregation. Like, so in all the cases, I would say, for the B2B partner, our offering have always been creation of a farmer network, making sure that they are sitting on top of the kind of ground information and the satellite information, the field information, all three things all together, so that whatever action they take today, if they want an extension activity to be done for their product, they can just do it by a dashboard, and our team on the ground does it, where they can see the videos of the farmers, like how they are interacting with their product. So this seamless system which we are able to create, that's for B2B. So I guess first was corporate, second was government, third was this B2B system. So I hope that
super. Actually, like, complete solution package for all the stakeholders, and believe me, like, the scaling which we have done is something, right, is legendary. So I congratulate you, your team, founders, and DeHaat, keep rocking, and thanks a lot, Nikhil, for participating in this session. Without you, this discussion couldn't have been complete, right? Because somebody who have been there, done it. In both of your companies, like in the previous also, like when you were the initial few who collected so much data for the government, right, and solving that problem. Unfortunately, we are having lack of time. Otherwise, I would have loved to have more discussion with you and talk about the great work you have been doing. Thanks a lot, Nikhil. Pleasure having you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Deepak.
So now let's move to the next speaker. So we are having Matiza Zul. So Matiza has founded Agrivi, a global farm management software company with a vision to change the way food is produced and positively impact over 1 billion lives by helping farmers reach sustainable, resource efficient, and profitable production. Matiza has become a farmer and planted a blueberry farm that made him aware of all the challenges farmers are facing in their production. Today, he is recognized entrepreneur and leader in the industry that has gave keynote speeches worldwide to popularize digital agriculture. His passion about the technology, agriculture, and positive impact in the world set up standards for the company that is today recognized as one of the key companies in the farm management industry by market research companies across the globe. So floor is yours, Matiza.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for having me today here with you. And Deepak, thank you very much for the nice introduction. I hope you hear me well, just a confirmation for that, if possible.
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Just repeat, I'm humbled to be here today with you, and I was really enjoying the previous speakers, keynote speakers, and panelists. So it is great to see mutual efforts that everybody is doing across the globe, across the value chain. From my side, I will share also a short presentation to explain what we are doing, our work in digital agriculture space, and I will try to focus more on some use cases and hopefully then to discuss through Q&A that deeper. So let me share a screen and let me know if you see it.
Yes, it is clearly visible. Please.
Thank you. So, as Deepak announced me, my name is Mattia Jules. I am founder and CEO at Agrivi, and I have founded Agrivi in 2013 in Europe with vision to change the way food is produced, positively impacting over 1 billion people. And we are doing that by focusing completely on building digital agriculture solutions for the entire value chain. Both farmers of all sizes, from smallholder farms to enterprise farms, and as well we work with all the stakeholders across the value chain. The ultimate goal is always to help everybody focus on reaching economically and environmentally sustainable food production. Our core product is a farm management platform. And as it was already discussed today, but we all know that in the last decade, we can see the rise of a lot of different agri-tech technologies. And from a farmer's shoes, when you are a farmer and when you need to start using technology, it suddenly appears that, and it really is like that, that you need to use 10 different systems that are specialized for different things. And in the end, often it ends up by extrapolating the data from one system, other system, to be able to consolidate the data and make a holistic decision. And as we all know, farmers are not data analysts, and they like to produce, they like to drive tractors, they like to do agronomy decision making, but they're not data analysts that will do the data consolidation. And for them, it's really key that we all provide them with a simple platform where they can consolidate their data, where they can manage their processes on farm, and where they can make decisions based on holistic data. So this is what our focus is altogether. So we are providing a central platform for farm agronomy and business operations. As mentioned, we work across the value chain, and I'm really glad to hear a lot of different thoughts from today's panelists and keynote speakers, as it was put a lot of that farmers often are those that need to take the burden of the cost of technology. And what is very interesting that a month and a half ago, a big study on US market was published that shows very clearly the statistics that 38% of US farmers are using farm management system. Other 25% are using some kind of digital tool, most likely a spreadsheet, and the other 30% is not using anything, they're not digitalized. And this is in US, the market that we always take as the leading market in digitalizing the agriculture. The two key parameters that farmers mentioned in the study as burdens, barriers for adoption, first was cost of technology as a burden, and this was done on professional farmer segment in US. So cost of technology was the first burden why they're not utilizing the technology more or not at all. And the second was actually access to training, knowledge, and education, how to utilize the technology when they procure that. So why I'm mentioning this on this slide is our experience in the last 8 years being on the global market is that small and medium-sized farms globally currently are in the position where they need support from the rest of the value chain in adopting the technology. And that's why we as a company, we focus very much by collaborating with the entire value chain that takes the burden of the cost and delivers the technology to farms. And I will try to mention that through three customer cases that I have prepared. So today we work with really big companies globally. By big, I position that being enterprise farms, B2B, so enterprise farms that have 1,000 hectares, 50,000 hectares by themselves, but also a lot of SME farms, smallholder farms that are consolidated through those kind of players. We work with Nestle in some countries, with Driscoll's that is big as a global berry grower, and different stakeholders, whether it is governmental sector, agribusiness banks, or input manufacturers. As a company, we are at the moment a team of 50, and with global operations, so serving customers globally, and we are one of the most awarded companies for our achievements, our impact on the market that we did. So I would like to focus on customer stories, because I always find that the most interesting and the most important. So I chose a climate smart rice cooperative that is being executed currently as a project and in Myanmar. So with 4,000 smallholder farms. So what usually is typical with this kind of projects is that those farms are actually all connected. They all have at the moment mobile phones, smartphones actually, but their educational level is not there yet to be able to manage their farms standalone. And a cooperative that is consolidating them. So currently there is 4,000 smallholder farms, is organized in a way that they have agronomists that act as agents. Every single agent has dedicated a number of farms. And those agronomists are the ones that are using our platform for managing the process on farm end to end to track the insights, what's happening on each field of a farmer. They visit farmers, they provide agronomic advice both in person but also through the platform directly, so providing advisory service through the platform. And in the end, they collect the data from farms, what actually happened. And in this way, they secure the traceability that is needed for their company, for cooperative, to be able to export. So all that is done by applying completely climate smart rice practices, and all the best practice templates, how to do that, how to do agronomy decision making, is being pushed to all agronomists centrally. So all of them get instructions how to be compliant with climate smart rice practices, and they are the ones actually that are doing the job of agronomy decision making, farm management, planning, data collection for smallholder farms. Their end goal is to educate those smallholder farms, not only to track through the app what's happening on their farm, as they're doing that now. So the first phase is simply awareness building, education building, so they can monitor through the app what's happening there. In the next phase is that they want to transfer the basic agronomy decision making to farms based on the data and data insights that are present there. The second story that I would like to emphasize is about processed vegetables. This customer is operating globally in over 50 countries, and this specifically currently we are working with the customer in Central Europe, and we always focus on specific business challenges that happen throughout the process of collaboration with farm and inefficiencies that happen there. So the customer is producing sweet corn in a can. And to ensure the premium quality of sweet corn, they're focusing entire cooperative in 65 kilometers around the factory. So the goal for them is to have enough time to, after harvesting, to put harvested corn in a can in less than 4 hours. This ensures them to have the premium quality of the final product. So what happens after that is that they do the quality testing and by sampling cans later after cans are produced. And if they identify in the process that pesticide residues are too high, they are throwing away the entire batch. So all the cereals. This usually means translated that everything that was harvested on that field on that day is being wasted. So that generates huge food waste, and it also generates a huge financial loss for both the company, but as well the farm, because the cost is always being transferred back to the farm. So how we are helping to solve this challenge is the customer is bringing our digital agriculture platform to growers. So growers get all the insights about weather risks, pest risks, and everything that's happening on their fields to be able to do the decision making. the food company is providing agronomy practice to them and advisory what to do, how to do everything, so that they can actually produce the quality parameters within the corn. And then what is specifically related to this challenge that I described about food waste is we have all the logs, traceability logs, when each farmer sprayed. We have the knowledge base about crop protection products that are available in each specific countries, with waiting periods after what period of time is it safe to harvest after spraying. So we provide dashboards to the customer where they see, okay, on the green field, you can harvest today. On the red field, you will be able to harvest in the next 3 days or 5 days. And by providing simple insights and decision-making, supporting their decision-making to know what is safe to harvest and what is not safe to harvest, we save several million euros a year just on a single factory to this food company. So it is from our side, what is important always to emphasize is to identify which processes are pain points today in a specific supply chain or a specific interaction with the grower, and focus there because then the value chain, the ecosystem will have enough incentive to bring technology to growers, so growers get it for free in this kind of collaboration. The third customer story is a baby food factory. As we all know that all food companies currently are trying to provide sourcing standards that meet sustainability standards, food safety standards, or other standards that are important for the company or us as consumers. So one of the example is a responsible sourcing standard that is brought by Nestle to all of their vendors. So the responsible sourcing standard says that you as a vendor need to meet a set of standards, requirements to be compliant vendor. One example of this requirement is that if I'm a farmer, I cannot do preventive spraying. This means that I cannot get that standard traditional crop protection plan that consists of 21 spraying of apples throughout the season, but I need to monitor my crops each day. And when I see that there is actual risk occurring on my fields, then I'm allowed to spray, and I need to provide the evidence around that. So to be able, what is always challenging, if you're a food company, you can always bring standards, but for farmers, it's always hard to adopt those standards to be able to be actually that compliant vendor. So you cannot do their hard push. You need to support growers to be able to adopt those standards. So what Nestle is doing in several countries where we work with them is they're bringing our platform to growers. Growers for this specific challenge of food safety for Nestle, for them it's very important to have the traceability of all the steps that is done, but also then to provide quality recommendations that impact quality parameters within crops as well to produce the premium baby food. So farms again get access to farm management platform. They get insights for every field when there is a risk of pests or diseases. They get alert. With their smartphone, they are taking photo evidence from the field when they're doing the scouting, and based on that, they are doing spraying. They get a complete recommendation what is currently legally available in the country, for which product registrations are still on. So it's fully compliant with all those legal standards, industry standards as well. And then Nestle as a company gets full traceability that ensures that everything was done according to their responsible sourcing standard. So in this way, we can see that the company is trying to bring digital agriculture solution to empower farmers to adopt their standards and to be the compliant vendor. And this is again fully subsidized. The cost is fully being borne by the food company. So this is the example of the Nestle story. And what I like to always address is when we work with companies currently globally from the value chain, whether these are input manufacturers that have operations around across countries, or these are food companies that have operations across countries. So if you are input manufacturer and if you work in 20 countries, it's very hard to scale digital agriculture technology because farms there, agronomists there, usually don't speak English. So they speak native language. And it is very important to bring fully localized software experience to farms. Otherwise, it is not being adopted. So for us as a company that delivers currently product to farms in over 100 countries, localization was one of the key aspects where we focused as well. So we currently have 17 languages exactly, through which we cover 130 countries in their official country language. And we have all the currencies units with everyday exchange rates, updated local crop protection products, what is being registered where, so that you can ensure the compliance there, and local pest alerts, because models that you do in Central Europe do not apply in Latin America, in India, or some other market as well. So it needs to be fine-tuned to fit the market completely. The second important part when we work with the value chain is that everybody wants to integrate digital agriculture platform with their existing ecosystem of ICT solutions. And either this is integration with ERP system, CRM system, big data lake, or whatever else. So as the platform, we provide fully open API for integration of all agricultural data. And what is very important, that data sharing is fully under control by GDPR, by all the other regulations about data privacy, depending on the market. So this means that farmers can always control their data. If they are sharing the data, they know to whom it is being shared. So data ownership, data sharing, data access, it is being under control, no matter whether the collaboration is being done directly through the application or it is being done through the API. And the last important aspect of working with the value chain was to ensure as well full compliance of us as digital agriculture company with all the requirements and standards of big corporates, that is being ISO certificated to ensure the quality levels of operations of our products, but also to ensure the cybersecurity through insurance policies and all other policies needed. So as a company, we are fully compliant currently with the most strict compliance levels of big corporates. What is important also to mention at the moment, there are a lot of companies that are trying to provide tools. Our learning was that if you are bringing a tool currently to food company, if you're bringing a tool to the farmer, it is usually not being used. It is usually not being adopted. Change management, customer success is about 50% of the success of the adoption. So we take a lot of care in providing premium customer success service to all of our partners, customers that we work with globally. And we encourage you always to think when you're looking for digital agriculture solutions that being able to execute is the most important thing. Just having a product fit to your needs is half of the way. So the next half of the way is actually how you're going to do it. We focus on creating Agrivi champions within the customer's company. We focus on customer success service that is where we like to translate it. It is like teaching a kid how to ride a bike. So initially you are setting up the bike, and this is like a platform setup initially in digital agriculture space. Then you are holding to the seat and you're taking care that the kid doesn't fall. This is by monitoring all the time initially when somebody adopts the digital agriculture tool, when they start to use it, to actually correct their behavior, how to use it in the best manner, to inform all the stakeholders within the company about the actual use case, because there needs to be high sponsorship within the project. Otherwise, it is again not being adopted. So we try to focus on providing all the stakeholders in the project with the best proper care to ensure the success rate of the project. Thank you very much for inviting me. I hope that these use cases have been of value to everybody. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks a lot for such an amazing presentation. Because of paucity of time, I just have one question for you, and it is very relevant. Typically, you'll find that the audience here, they are predominantly from Africa and Asia, because that was the whole idea. We would like to understand, you have given an example of Myanmar. What's your plan to be operational in countries like India, Indonesia, Ghana, or Ethiopia, which happens to be strong markets, but maybe they are off radar currently?
Yeah, actually, we have customers in all those markets at the moment. So at the moment, our customer base is dispersed globally. Europe and the US is our dominant market as two markets primarily, but around 35% of our revenue comes from Africa, Asia altogether. So we are at the moment present. What is very important, we tend to increase and grow our partner network of companies that have their feet on the ground, that are currently dealing also with food and agriculture industry, and to partner with them to bring our technology to those markets with deeper penetration. So I invite everybody who is interested in collaboration to contact me.
Yeah, so please, audience, if you see there is a farmer who needs digital solution, right, you know where to get in touch with and whom to get in touch with. Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure hosting you, and wish you all the best. And we would now move to our last speaker for today. And we are having all the way from Myanmar, where actually, we have a case study from Matiza. And we have with us Adrian So Mint. Adrian is a CEO of Village Link, an award-winning agriculture technology startup based out of, as I said, Myanmar. He graduated with Bachelor's of Chemical Engineering with specialization in data modeling and predictive analytics from Curtin University, and completed his MBA at Assumption University of Thailand. Before Village Link, he was spearheading the digital transformation initiative of Myanmar Ava Group, one of the largest group in agriculture sector in Myanmar. And he was a group chief digital officer. In 2019, with great passion to solve farming problems, he joined Village Link and is now delivering innovative digital solution for smallholders in Myanmar, which introduces sustainable farming solutions and optimized farming productivity using remote sensing analytics. So floor is yours, Adrian.
Thank you, Deepak, for having me over, and thank you for the opportunity. Just give me a second to share my presentation. I hope it's up there.
Yes, it's up there. Yes, I can see a nice farmer working on rice.
Right. So Myanmar in the recent years has gone through major transformations across many sectors, especially the telecommunications, as you can see. However, the story of transformation is not the same across every sector. Agriculture in the country is pretty much unchanged for thousands of years. That's why if you look at our productivity today, we're actually very far behind even that of our neighboring countries like Thailand. But I want to highlight here that the situation here is not all that bad. Matija has also mentioned about farmers in Myanmar using smartphones. So in this picture, you see a typical farmer in Myanmar. In her hand, it's her first phone. It might not be as powerful as the iPhone 12s or the Samsung Galaxy S20s you have, but it still does what it needs to, getting the information they need to improve their farming productivity. So if you look at the numbers in Myanmar, we have about 7 million farming families. That's about 35 million of the population that is relying on the agriculture sector. 82% has 3G to 4G connection, with SIM penetration of more than 126%. And about 80% of every phone in Myanmar is actually a smartphone. So it has all the ingredients to be a successful digital agriculture country. And that's why we have founded Village Link with the vision to empower the lives of Myanmar farmers using agriculture technology by leveraging the mobile and internet penetration in the country. Our core competency is basically our advanced satellite capabilities, our community of farmers that we have, and the extensive business networks that we have through our partners. The first digital solution that we want to introduce here is called Twetdo. Twetdo means higher yield in our language. It's basically a platform that connects farmers to agricultural professionals, products, information, and services so that they can get the timely solution to overcome their problems. The main function of the app is very simple. It's a Q&A where farmers can post pictures or write questions. And we have a team of agronomists that monitors the feed and provide them the solution they need to overcome that problem. We also have a call center functionality if they need an urgent assistance in treating pests and diseases on their farms. We update farmers with localized crop prices based on their geolocation so that no farmer in Myanmar is at a disadvantage when it comes to bargaining with middlemen. And we have many other sections that educate farmers about different farming methods, from selecting the right seeds to post-harvest activities, and so on. So all these information that we provide to the farmers are basically free of charge. We also connect them to the marketplace where they'll be able to find other sellers for input products, laborers, and farming services. And also they will be able to sell their produce as well by listing their products in this e-marketplace. And lastly, we're experimenting with image recognition, artificial intelligence that allows farmers to just scan the picture, the plant, and then the AI will automatically diagnose what disease is present and recommend them the best solution available in the market. So we provide these services for free, but we monetize by working with agribusinesses where we allow them to promote their contents, products, and services on our platform. And then we help them build digital capabilities. For example, the loyalty program, where we have enabled our farmers to be able to scan the unique QR codes on our partners' products and enjoy loyalty benefits like mobile top-ups, loyalty points, and lucky draw programs. We have also included e-commerce capability where we help sell our partners' products on our platform. And we do the last mile delivery services to smallholders. And then, of course, we do lead generations where we help collect the necessary data that our clients need to better understand their customer base. In terms of performance, our platform is one of the largest in Southeast Asia with more than 760,000 downloads. We have already answered more than 102,000 questions or problems from our farmers in our platform. In terms of reach, we have more than 25 million screen views cumulatively in our app today. Another product that we want to introduce here is called the Village Link Satellite Services. It's actually a remote sensing platform that it's going to introduce a new farming system in Myanmar that is sustainable, productive, and resilient. So the type of remote sensing data can be classified into three parts. First of all, the weather analytics. Second is the crop monitoring, and lastly, the land monitoring. So for weather analytics, the difference that we have compared to other open APIs in the market is that not only we predict the weather conditions or the parameters, but also the suitability of certain farming activities based on the location and the crop type. And not just that, we also have models to predict pest and disease outbreaks based on these parameters. So Nikhil earlier has mentioned that actionable information, it's very useful for farmers. So it doesn't make sense for us to just give them the satellite data because they don't know what to do with it. So what we usually do is we look at these parameters, we look at our users' location and the type of crop they grow, and our agronomists will write very contextualized advisory messages that we blast out to relevant farmers in different areas of Myanmar. So to visualize, this is how it looks like. So if we see that in a certain area, certain farming activities are not suitable because of the weather condition, then farmers in that location using our app will receive an advisory telling them to postpone that activity. But if they are in an area where we predicted that this farming activity is suitable, then they will know that they are supposed to do a certain action. So we give them actionable guidance straight away directly to them so that they know what to do for the next step. For crop monitoring, we can help assess the crop performance of different farmers in Myanmar by comparing them with the national average biomass benchmark. So which indicates whether they're doing well or they're doing on average or they're doing below the national average, as you can see by different coloration of the plots in our platform. And lastly, for land monitoring, we can assess the impact of weather effects on different farms in Myanmar. So as you can see, the purple color indicates agricultural land use. And then we have a dam over here with water at the upstream of the dam. But when the dam broke, we can actually see how much of crops were impacted downstream of the dam. So we have this sort of data for all over Myanmar that allow us to understand where different risk or the risk indices of different crops and different areas in the country. So we aggregate all of these data from the satellite, from the users, and we package them into a single platform, which we provide to businesses in Myanmar so that they can utilize the data for actionable information. For example, contract farming organizations can remotely monitor their farms and assess their biomass benchmark to understand how well they are doing under their portfolio and do preventative actions in case that there is going to be a pest and disease outbreak. Trader, buyers, and off-takers obviously can use the market data for their trading. Input suppliers and machinery companies being able to understand where different crops are going to be grown or what stages they are at, they can actually plan their logistics accordingly to optimize their supply chain. And lastly, financial institutions can use the data for risk assessment to understand the risk level at different townships and villages in Myanmar, as well as individual clients. So this is an example of how we categorize risks for different areas in Myanmar using the previously mentioned satellite data. So we combined the flood history, predicted seasonal rainfall, predicted seasonal drought, as well as the historical crop benchmark. And then we can come up with very specific risk indices for different crops and different villages all over the country. And as a next step, we're going to be synthesizing this data to create climate risk insurance products for smallholders in Myanmar in the future. This is going to be the first of its kind in the country. So now I just want to touch on the considerations for scaling digital systems for agriculture. Obviously, the stakeholder engagement is very important in understanding the actual pain points of customers and creating a product that, that delivers the solutions which is relevant to the problem that we have at hand. And I want to highlight here that incorporating feedback loop in the entire product roadmap process is very important. You want to be ensuring that every step you make is the right step, and then you have measures in place to let you know that whether you're doing something correctly or not. And ultimately, you don't want to be building a product that nobody wants. So it's good to have some mechanisms in place to help you check with what your customer actually needs. Sometimes, we like to use technology, for the sake of using technology, which I want to highlight here that you might want to avoid that. There are a lot of existing tools or platforms that we can leverage instead of building a new one or using entirely sophisticated and unrelevant technology. So for us in Myanmar, we leverage platforms like Facebook and Viber, where we have a lot of farmers already. And that's how we've been able to onboard users into our platform by reaching to them through these platforms. And lastly, the most important consideration when you are talking about adoption of digital agriculture services, it's the partnerships. A tech company alone cannot do it because agriculture, it's a very expansive field, and then fit geographically and physically, you can't reach every farmer. It's impossible. But what happens is that in every country, in every market, you have different organizations that already have deep relationship with farmers in a specific location. So the way that you want to onboard farmers into our platform is by tapping into these organizations to work with you so that you can help them with the digital capabilities while they can help you with onboarding users into your platform. So this is how we've been working in Myanmar. We work with different agribusinesses that already has a huge market share. And also we work with the government agencies like the Department of Agriculture that has thousands of extension workers interacting with farmers on a daily basis. And they have been very critical in helping us onboard users into our platform. And that's how you want to go forward with any agricultural technology solution. So with that, I want to conclude my presentation here, and I'm passing the floor back to Deepak. Thank you very much.
Hey, Adrian, thanks a lot for a really nice presentation. Just a couple of questions. First is that actually, do you want to focus your energies only in Myanmar currently, or do you have plan to expand to other Southeast Asian countries?
So our immediate focus for this year, it's in Myanmar, because we still have certain features that we want to polish and test with the audience here. But we do have aspirations to expand to other Southeast Asian countries in the next 2 years.
Yeah, because I can see very similar pattern in Laos, Cambodia, and also in to certain extent in Indonesia, where the same problem of yields are there, same problem of farmers not adopting the solution is there. So that's why. The second question would be when you talk about the using biomass in NDVI for prediction, do you also want to go to HD NDVI or HD soil moisture level prediction using 30-meter resolution, or how does that stops?
So we're not using soil moisture measurements at the moment. We're only using the NDVI, typical NDVI, and our resolution is 10-meter resolution.
Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. So thanks, Edwin. Thanks a lot for a really interesting aspect. And coming from Myanmar, it is it's good to know that, because those market, I believe, needs hand-holding far more than any developed country. So pleasure having you. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak.
Yeah. So now we go to the last section of the summit, and where we'll be running through quickly analyst briefing, and where we'll also like to introduce a little bit about what we do. So at HnyB, actually, we work very closely on intersection of agriculture and technology. On one hand, we work with the corporate and community farmers to help them adopt new technologies and become more productive, profitable, at the same time ensure they do agriculture in a sustainable manner. On the other, we work very closely with tech companies to ensure that they are able to roll out their solutions in developing world, especially when we talk about Asia and Africa. So let us understand a little bit about where the markets are. So if you see that actually, like, the globally, the market of digital agriculture is growing at very high rates. So the average growth rate is around 15%. We are looking at close to 26.65 billion over next 5 years to be the market. The biggest growth, you can see that it is coming when we go for regions, right? It's coming from Southeast Asia and South America. So these numbers tells us very simply that actually, like, Sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia is where, like, that there are lower growth than the remaining part of the world. North Africa is also doing very well. And that is where actually I believe, like, you'll find a lot of smart irrigation technologies being looked at and worked at. Now, if you go to the, like, typically the countries of our interest, right, where we work, as I said, Africa and Asia. So you find that the maximum growth is over next 5 years is going to happen in Vietnam, followed by Egypt and Saudi Arabia. We have tried to take only those countries where we see that by 2026, the digital agriculture market would be at least $100 million. So the small countries where the growth might be high, but still the size of the market is not very, I'll say that, large or a medium size, we have ignored that. India, unfortunately, as I was telling you earlier also, that is growth rate when compared to other counterparts, especially in Asia and Southeast Asia, is pretty low. So we are at 10.4. In Africa, the highest growth you can see would be in Ghana, followed by Kenya, Ethiopia, and then the Nigeria. What we have also done is that we have tried to, like, identify what are the key parameters to judge the potential of a specific market. So we generally go by market size, growth potential, number of farmers, agriculture economics, policy environment, agronomy, digital infrastructure, political stability, farmer demographics, funding, digitization cost, and ecosystem. Now, based on those parameters, we have identified which countries any agtech company should be focusing on. That's the idea. So this is the map opportunity for digital agriculture solutions. So potential versus technology advancement. So you find that actually, like, the highest potential happens to be in Saudi Arabia, but they need typically very high-end technology advanced services. Then Vietnam, Egypt, Indonesia, India is somewhere in the middle. Then you are having Ghana, Kenya, Ethiopia, and Nigeria, where the potential is also not very high. At the same time, they are not looking for very technologically advanced solutions. Now, if you see that, what are the typical 12 solutions which market is looking at? So we start with, like, the highest demand is for record management and insurance, risk mitigation, traceability, smart irrigation, digital payments, farm management, marketplace and output aggregation, input, e-commerce and credit, yield estimation, farm loan management, crop stress detection and advisory, and finally the data monetization. So these are the typically, you'll find that the 12 solutions which are being talked about. Here, if you have to understand, like, one of the highest growing solution is traceability. Currently, typically I'll say that the penetration is low, but this is becoming very, very fast, and which is growth of close to 24%. A little bit about, like, me, which is the analyst, right? So, like, I'm pretty well decorated by World Economic Forum, to United Nations, to the Future Agro Challenge. Was among top 100 social entrepreneurs by DBS Foundation, National Institute of Singapore. Written books and have honor of working typically with farmers of 20 different countries. Now, as a HnyB, we provide market access, insight and research service, agronomical support, projects, and platforms. So this is the idea is that actually we provide competitive advantages to our customer, whether it is they are in the farming industry or whether they're in the tech sector. We work with both of them. The way we work is that actually we try to map the market, create business models, work out a tech strategy, go-to-market strategy, identify partners, see to it that regulation and compliance challenges are taken care of, revenue activation, pilot and scale up, growth hacking, and organization building. So this is predominantly for typically EdTech companies. Our foothold, if you see that Africa and Asia is where we are strong in. So from Ghana all the way to Indonesia, we have worked in most of these countries. As far as our work, we have learned from close to 300,000 unique farmers. I have a network of 300 plus global agriculture business CXOs, experience of working in 16 countries, insight from 1 million hectares, various stage of commercial engagement in 3 continents, knowledge of 40 plus agroclimatical zone, understanding of 50 plus crop value chains, and work with 40 plus agro ecosystem players. With that, I would like to end my presentation, and I would thank all of you for your participation. At the same time, I would also request you to join us on Friday again, where we would be having our next agriculture roundtable. This time it would be on input management, and we are having speakers from companies like Bayer, FMC, East West Seed, Biofarm, and Hello Tractor. The idea, and then we are having a panel discussion on about the last mile access to digital technologies. Typically companies like Big Heart, Fresho Cards, D4D participating in the panel. We look forward to your participation, and thanks a lot for being here and listening to awesome speakers we had today. I would also like to thank all the speakers for their participation and showing their interest. Have a safe and awesome evening. Thank you.